And then, so that we can get the program underway, we want to ask the hardcore members of this group to please stand up so you get to know who these folks are, if in case you don't know them yet, one-on-one. So the president is Armando Cisneros. Armando. All right, next we've got our VP, Vish Vaswana. We've got our treasurer, David Cardwell. David. And our fab secretary, Miss Melly Herford. Alrighty, so now to get the program started, we would like to bring up to the stage David Cardwell. Mr. David. Just so you guys know, David Cardwell moved to Laredo 50 years ago with the Laredo Air Force, the base. And most recently, he was chairman of the Moving Laredo Forward that dealt with city charter amendments. They had 5 amendments that were put onto the ballot, and 3 of those passed. So great job, great job. And he got to know our Laredo because our Laredo was also very involved with those city charter amendments. So without further ado, let's hear and get the welcome from Mr. David Cardwell.
Thank you. And thank you, Tricia, for the introduction. And Ingrid, thank y'all for opening up the meeting. And just to clear it up, I came here when I was like 10 years old in the Air Force Base. But I do thank you for that, and thank you for giving that wonderful beginning here. As Tricia said, my name is David Cardwell, and there's a couple of things I like to do before I say the opening comments or the welcome that I would like to extend to you. And I'm looking around the room, and I think there's probably only 2 descendants of Revolutionary War soldiers. There's 2 that's in this audience here. I had an ancestor that fought in the war, in the Revolutionary War, and also Henry Herford had an ancestor that fought in the Revolutionary War. So I'm going to ask Henry to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. So please stand. Thank you, Henry. Also, what I'd like to do at this time is have a moment of silence as we remember the many soldiers that fought for our freedom, the freedom so we can meet here today and freely express our opinions without any retaliation that may come our way. So let's have a moment of silence, please. Thank you very much. Thank you also, Tricia, for giving the introduction. She introduced our Chief Eagle. Our Chief Eagle, we all know, is Vish, where the eagle flies and lands. Is that correct on the Facebook? All right. That's where the eagles dare. Anyway, we want to thank all the supporters that are here, all the people that volunteered to help out, donated food, drinks, and different things that they brought here this evening, and also Mr. Smith for the facility here. So this is wonderful, and I'm glad that everybody came out. And there are a lot of supporters behind us, and some of them, we don't even know who they are. They will post, or they will call Vish, or send him something on email or fax. So we do thank all the people that are sending information in to us. Anyway, any news media here? Any news media? And you're from where? I'm sorry, I caught you when you were eating.
At this moment, it's a social media website.
Very good. Glad you're here. Thank you. And your name? Glad you're here. Thank you very much. Thank you. And the reason I say that, if you didn't have an opportunity to see the paper today, there is an article, Laredo Morning Times today in their paper, Watchdog Group celebrates second anniversary. That's in today's Laredo Times. Also today on the digital newspaper of Laredo's, it says our Laredo marks second anniversary, public invited to July 22nd meet and greet at Holding Institute. So there's 2 locations that you can go to and read those articles. Question. When was the last city council meeting? Who can tell me? Last Monday. When's the next one? Monday. Who said that? Door prize. Look at there. All right. Monday. Here's the agenda. There was a meeting Monday. Just had one last Monday. Of course, I expected to see M&M Cargo on that agenda for Monday, but it is not on there. Just to give you a little, one of the items or a couple, there's an item that says discussion with possible action on ongoing audits or irregularities identified by the internal auditor, including the potential assignment of other and/or additional auditing duties and any other matters incident thereto. That says a lot in 3 lines. So I would assume that if you're interested, you would probably go to that meeting. You might say something at public comments. Another one is discussion with possible action to have a change to our ordinance to allow for food trucks in parks and any issues incidental thereto. I do not know if food trucks have alcoholic beverage licenses, but I think that would be a good question that someone could ask Monday night, because I don't think we want indirectly through the back door for people to be allowed to sell alcoholic beverages where our young people are participating in parks. The other one, I believe George Algat has this one. Discussion with possible action to include in the Friday packet and posted online a statement as to all weekly expenditures between $30,000 and $50,000. That one, I think, has been a topic of our Laredo. As you notice, one other thing besides us giving you 3 minutes to speak this evening, you notice the MC stated, if you're in the middle of your 3 minutes and you've got something really positive, a strong suggestion that we need to hear, I believe that Tricia and Ingrid will probably let you go over the 3 minutes, unlike the city council. The other thing you will notice around the room, you do not see the police, and the police are invited to be here if they would like. So with that said, I don't believe Vish has any worry about being removed from the podium tonight. You feeling better, Vish? All right. So, with that said, our goal for this evening. Yeah, I know that. Our goal this evening is to allow anyone to speak for 3 minutes or more, up to the MCs, to share their idea-focused theme or topic, to foster learning, inspiration, and wonder, to provoke future conversations that matter to our community as a whole and to each individual citizen. And this also includes anyone running for political office, because we need to hear what your platform is. A few ground rules for the speakers in the audience. Comments should be delivered in a professional manner. Please respect each speaker with their message. This is a community issues awareness forum. This is not a debate or lecture forum. No debate will be allowed. No derogatory remarks will be permitted. Speakers may allow Q&A only to complete their 3-minute time period. If they close at 2 minutes, then they can say, are there any questions? Then the MC will allow a couple of minutes of that. After all the speakers have finished, and if time permits, the MCs and Mr. Vish may allow Q&A time at the end of the meeting. Do you have any questions before we turn this over to the MCs? All right, with that said, I'd like to, for the MCs, Tricia Cortez and Ingrid Gamboa, to come back up front. And I think you've heard them, but if they want to say a little bit more about them, other than the train going behind us here, they're welcome too.
Yes, after the speakers, there will be a short break, and then we'll bring up the panel to talk about the future. So great question.
Great, there will be an intermission. Thank you for asking that.
All righty, so thank you so much, David. And next we want to bring to the stage a man known by his pen name as Maximiliano Laredense, aka Armando Cisneros. And as you may or may not know, Armando is kind of the hardcore researcher, digs into contracts. I mean, he kind of forms a lot of the core for all of the things that our Laredo is able to very, very knowledgeably speak about and advocate for, because he does the homework. He sifts through all of these contracts, and it's really amazing what he does to give the group such a tremendous amount of credibility with all of the issues that they bring forward, whether it's popular and controversial or not. So Armando is going to give an overview of this past very interesting year with our Laredo. So without further ado, let's bring up Armando El Max Cisneros.
Thank you. That was going to be hard enough without all those compliments, but I'll try to get by. I handed out a list to everyone because there's a lot of things that we have either accomplished or in the process of accomplishing. And what I will do is I will just read the major subheadings and then read a couple of examples. So for example, the first one, well, first of all, it says our Laredo making a difference. How are we making a difference? One of them is changing the culture at City Hall. So for example, we believe we have brought about increased respect for the taxpayer and for their participation. Through our efforts, and among other efforts of others, the city manager has been replaced. The attorney has been, or is in the process of being replaced, and the parks director also has been replaced. The process for funding the Washington trip is being reformed. There was a lot of questions about the donors were contractors, and so we thought there was a lot of possible conflict of interest. So this is an example of changing the culture. Exercising our freedom of speech. Last year, not all the city meetings had to have public comments, and now they do. So that in itself is a very big change. Last year, 3 candidates had been dropped off the ballot, and we worked with other groups to get them back on the ballot. One of them was George Algelt, so he does very good work. And the last category, bringing about transparency and accountability from our city government. And you can read through those, and if you have any questions later on, we'll be happy to answer them. But the lemurs, finally we got rid of the 20-year contract, which was a very bad deal. First recycling, we're in the process of fixing that. And there was a councilman who was accused of double dipping. He finally had to pay back. He paid back, right? $14,000. And some concessionaires had not paid any money to the city for years and years, and they're starting to pay up. So anyway, this is a little review, and I hope you have any questions you can ask later on. Thank you.
So now we're gonna present Ivan Rodriguez.
Good afternoon. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Ivan Rodriguez. I'm retired from Union Pacific Railroad. I was there about 36 years, and I had responsibility for the border from Brownsville out to California, so I had the opportunity of visiting all of the border points, the interchange points, and I saw the way things were done there. And they were all smaller cities, and yet they were doing more than we were here in trying to maintain their share of international trade and so forth. But I'm currently on the board of the Laredo Development Foundation. I'm on the board of the Logistics and Manufacturing Association. I have been on the board of the Chamber of Commerce. Last year I was given the opportunity. I am a very, very proud Laredoan. It's exciting every time I hear the Pledge of Allegiance and every time we talk about, you know, our country, our nation, our city. I get really excited because my mother, back during World War II, moved from Laredo to Detroit to assemble airplanes during World War II. And my father served with the U.S. Army on the Aleutian Islands in Alaska. They're both gone now, but they're still here with me. And I know that they would be very, very proud of the work that is being done by this group, by everybody in this room, to try to help our city of Laredo, because we are a very blessed, you know, community. More so, I think, than a lot of people realized. And we always hear things about how, you know, important this gateway is and so forth. But what concerns me is that young people leave and then they don't want to come back. Some of them do. I have a son that came back and he questioned his you know, decision to come back. He said, "Dad, I don't know if I did the right thing." I said, "You know, you do what's in your heart. If you want to stay here, I'll be the happiest dad in the world. If you want to leave, I'll be a proud dad and a happy dad too. But I will say one thing, this city has potential. And you can move anywhere in the United States and you can make it. But definitely you can make it here in this community. This community is a gold mine. For young people, for middle-aged people, for elderly people, those of us that are already retired but want to continue to work. So I'm here more to say thank you to Vish, to Armando, to everyone that is a part of our Laredo. Mr. Farias, was it, that used to go to city council quite a bit? You know, we all used to watch him, we used to read about him, and I would always hear people say, "Oh, ese señor, you know, something's wrong with him, something's wrong." There was nothing wrong with him. There was nothing wrong with him. He was questioning a system that wasn't transparent. He was questioning a system that, you know, has some shenanigans going on. He was questioning a system that just wasn't right. And that's the best way to push somebody aside, to say, no, you know, there's talk about wanting to build a statue somewhere downtown. I think the city council said they were going to spend $1 million. If they ought to, you know, if they want to build a statue of somebody, build it of Mr. Farias, because he challenged the system meeting after meeting after meeting. And I think that enabled this organization to really rally for the cause also. So I'm here more than anything to tell you, you know, thank you. I'm so glad that our Laredo exists. I plan to do my small part to help. And I believe in my heart that what we need more than anything is transparent, you know, transparency, honesty, integrity, accountability, those kind of things that we all talk about. And we assume that they're going to be there, but they're not going to be there unless people like the ones that are in this room demand that they be there. Because it's easy to run for office and say it, but temptation hits everybody. And temptation, you know, when it comes to money, when it comes to stuff on the side, it can take the best man or the best woman down. Unless there's people like the ones in this room that'll sit there and remind people. My wife said it best a couple of years ago. She says, you know, what happens in this city is everybody gets behind a candidate and they support him and they get him into office, and then everybody walks away. And then you hear the bad guys come knocking. And they get that candidate that everybody voted in, that committed to be transparent, committed to be honest, committed to be, and they'll work them and work them and work them until they finally break them. And I'm so glad that she said that, because that motivated me more to want to be involved. The organizations that I'm involved with, you know, some people like me, some people don't, because I have a tendency to say what's in my heart, not what's on my mind, what's in my heart. And I tell people, you know, be led by your heart, but do think with your brain on anything that this city does. I'd like to see more young people stay here. And because of the work of this organization, it's going to happen. My son is here. He decided not to leave. The good Lord has blessed him in his business. And I'm so happy that things are going well. My daughters, they live out of town, one in Pennsylvania, one in Georgia. I wish there was a way to come, for them to come back. But we don't have a whole lot to offer in this city. But we will. We will one of these days. I was looking through the material that was put together, and I just want a couple of words that stand out. And again, thank you guys, really, for sticking your neck out the way you do, because that's what it takes. We mentioned the revolution a while ago. Where would this country be if people weren't willing to stick out their neck? I mean, some of them gave everything. But the results of what they did have helped this country move forward. The results of what people in this room are doing are going to move this city forward. And I just circled a few things: respect, ethics, freedom of speech, exposing favoritism, new city manager, transparency, accountability, double dipping, sheesh, exposing, vetoing the separate city elections. That's a big one. And I guarantee you, if you guys had not questioned and stood up, that would still be in place. And what a heck of a way to have the wrong people elected. By having an election, a separate election, where, the coldest beer and the biggest taco is going to get somebody elected, And don't get me wrong, when you have a little political gathering, you want to feed the people and you want them to enjoy themselves and everything. But my goodness gracious, we all know that sometimes people say, no, hombre, I'm voting for him or her porque se avientan, hombre, estuvimos y que música y que tacos. No. That's not what it's about. That's not what it's about. It's about making the right decisions, the right business decisions every day. Every day. And I've told two young people that either ran for office or were thinking about running for office, and I said, I'm going to just ask you one thing. Please, if you get into office, don't do anything to try to enhance your financial situation. Just do a good job in representing the people. Stand up for what's right. Spend taxpayer money wisely. And build yourself a good record. And you know what? If you do that, God will bless you. Because when you leave office, guess what? If you become an Allstate agent, a State Farm, Farmers, if you become a real estate agent, people are going to look for you. And that's where you're going to make your money. What you're going to make in office, that's under the table money, and that's wrong, and it'll burn a hole through your pocket. And it'll get away from you. But what you can do for yourself after office, because of the good person that you were and because of the respect that you're going to have, God is going to bless you, and you will become the millionaire that maybe you aspire to be. So thank you for the time. Again, tremendous, tremendous work. Vish, I'm so glad that the city manager, the ex-city manager, didn't walk closer, because he was playing around and he kind of took a swing at you, and I'm sure everybody's seen that. But they say sometimes what you're thinking is what you'd really like to do, and that's the way that he viewed it. He said, "Geez, if had his arm been long enough, he probably would have." Of course, that might have been a good thing too. Had that happened, because. But thank you to everybody for being here. God bless our city. Let's all, stay involved. Let's all talk to people, bring them in. And my only request is that this organization continue to focus on the critical things that affect everything. And they are honesty, transparency, accountability, and integrity is the most important one. Because you can be a bad guy who's honest. You can say, oh yeah, I love to steal. That's being honest. I love to take advantage of people. But integrity, Like, you know, they say in the word team, there's no I. Well, there's an I in integrity. Two of them, as a matter of fact, I think, right? If I'm spelling it right. But there is an I in there. And you've got to be a person with integrity. And we have to, I don't want to say demand it of our leaders, but we have to remind them that those are our expectations. So God bless everybody in here, and thank you for the opportunity to say a few words.
That was outstanding. I can't think of a better way of summarizing everything, Ivan, than the way you just did right now. And as Ivan mentioned, you know, this isn't a group where you're going to make lots of friends and hold hands with everybody, because you stick your neck out and you speak based on a lot of the facts that you're finding, calling out people. You know, you're not going to be liked by those powers that be, but a lot of people out there are looking to our Laredo to be the voice for them. So it's a tremendous amount of work. And if anybody wants to get more involved with our Laredo, they have regular meetings. They do a lot of open records. They've got to sift through a lot of documents. They have to speak at city council. Whatever your strength or forte is, they need you. If it's a little bit that you can give or a lot, so please do. Please see Armando, Vish, Melly, David, please see them. And there's other folks in the group here that we'll introduce in a minute, so you can all get to start knowing each other. Next, let's bring up to the stage Louis Lavode, a local attorney, and he's going to speak on the topic of the Old Mercy Hospital, I believe. Is that right, Mr. Lavode? All righty. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Louis Lavode.
Hello, let me just introduce myself real quick. My name is Louis Lavode. Bish was the one who asked me to come and make a small presentation about what's going on with the Old Mercy Hospital building. I've been asked by the city to serve on the ad hoc committee for that project, and we had our first meeting on Thursday. Let me just dispel one thing real quick, and I want to really open it up for questions. I do believe that the meeting was timely and properly noticed, so I'm not sure why anybody didn't show up, but let me tell you that there was a lot of city people there. We had a full committee, we had a quorum, we had a very good first meeting. We're not sure exactly what we're going to get to yet, because there's still a lot of information that we need before we can get to that point where we would make a recommendation to the city, but we do have some ideas. So with that, really, I want to see if anybody has any questions about that, because that's really a hot topic right now, not to mention that it's hot, you know, like burning down hot, but yes, sir. Well, we have complained about that. We have complained about the building not being secured. As a matter of fact, the day of our meeting, they were out there with the weed eaters trimming the grass around the edge of the property. If you look inside the property, it's still pretty much a shambles. So, I mean, it's not secured. The fencing is inadequate. Obviously, people are getting into it. There was a fire a couple weeks ago there. I mean, there's lots of problems, but this is not going to be there's going to be no easy solution to this problem. It may be a problem that will require the city expending funds to take care of it. And if people are against that, well, you know, there's certain ways we can do that that might be more palatable to people, but it will involve some money being spent by the city at some point. So, you know, people need to be aware of that and get prepared. Yeah, Kelly?
As the former municipal prosecutor, I saw a lot of, hello?
There.
I had to prosecute a lot of people, you know, old people, single men, single women, working families, people living very low income. The city would have no problem citing them for ordinance violations. This man has a ton of money. He's getting money from the city for a building where the city's not even using. That's a side issue. Why aren't they citing him for all of the building violations?
Let me address.
Because I'll tell you, I had a very, very hard time. I'm not attacking you, Louis. You know me. I just get passionate.
I know. All right, let me address those.
Prosecuting.
Let me address.
Especially the elderly for for having an ordinance violation at their house, and the fines are $500, $1,000, $2,000 that I know they don't have, why isn't the city citing him? That's what you should be demanding.
Very good point, very good point. Let me start with first, that lease that Kelly was talking about, she is absolutely correct. The city was leasing the adjoining buildings from the same owner of the hospital at a monthly rental of about $24,000 a month. Vish, you're aware of that. And that lease existed for 7 years, and those buildings were maybe occupied 2 or 3 months, okay? I complained already about that. That lease is over. We've asked the city why they did that. Apparently, they cite the old administration as to why. That's over. As soon as I was appointed to the ad hoc committee, I did inquire of the environmental committee. I wanted to see all the citations that have been issued in regard to that building for the last 5 to 10 years. Why? Because I think it's important that we see what enforcement the city's been undertaking in regard to that building. When I asked for those citations, I did get a little bit of questioning. You know, they were asking, why would I want that? I said, well, I think it's important information if the committee is going to make a recommendation about that hospital. I know that in the last 3 weeks, they've been citing the owner. When I started asking about those citations, they started issuing citations. Some of those are monetary citations. There's even criminal possibilities in the ordinances that the city has on the books already. What the committee is getting at is that it's going to be a tough solution anyway for the city, whether the city ends up with the property through demolishing it, whether the city ends up with the property by condemning it, which we're not in favor of, whether the city ends up buying the property, which we're not in favor of. This is a problem that the city's going to have to address, and the city's going to have to expend money. We don't know the best route yet, but we're working on trying to get as much information as we can to make a good decision about what we're going to recommend to the city. As of this point, we don't have that recommendation. Yes, sir.
The city is going to have to spend money for this property. So if I invest in the property for my profit and it fails, I can go to the city to get my money or reimburse me somehow? Because that's what you're talking about.
Okay,
here.
let me stop you right there. I wish you won't, because you're probably going to be shot down, and I hope it's a group like this that shoots you down, okay? Because the same thing is happening right now. You see, we believe that buying the property is a bad investment. Nobody's going to buy that thing. They're not going to buy it from the owner. They're not going to, the city doesn't want to buy it. Okay. Well, let me tell you what we have looked at. There is a mechanism in the ordinances of the city that allow the city to demolish the building at the cost of the owner and place a levy on the property for those costs. We're not interested in buying a building that has a huge liability to it, nor are we willing, or I don't think the public is willing, to see the city again buy out an investor but for a bad investment. That's what we don't want to see. I think it's a lot more palatable for people to say, let's spend the money to knock the thing down, not bail an investor out. Okay, so we have a lot of issues that we have to address one by one, whether we condemn it, whether it's bought, whether we tear it down at the expense of the owner. These are all things that have been brought up. We're talking about all those things. I've been around, asked for a lot of people's input regarding this problem. I've gotten it. There's some good ideas. There's some not so good ideas. And we're just working on the problem. We're trying to come up with a recommendation.
Also, this is a really controversial issue that's brewing right now, and I think our Laredo is going to have a separate session on this, but I think we have time for at least another question on this for the moment.
That's why I wanted to just take all questions, because I think it helps more.
I don't know if this is on, but
Go
anyway,
ahead.
I was at that town hall where
As I
think
was also.
as you were, and I think in general, I think all of us that were sitting in the audience agreed until this particular owner actually shows the responsibility to take care of his landscape and the securing of the site. No one's really going to believe that he really wants to do what's best for the community. And I agree with you that, and I've told our Laredo group that it will take public funds, and we really need to get to a place, if we really care about this community, to accept that.
Well, I think it's a lot easier for me to convince you to expend those funds to tear it down than convince you to get those funds to pay the owner and then tear it down.
Yeah.
It just makes no sense.
One thing and it's really a private owner's responsibility, it's his consequence, but as a community, we're living the consequences of his reckless investment.
Well, let me tell you one thing we have decided. We do not want the owner of that property to ever say that the city is putting roadblocks in front of his efforts to sell that property. What we've asked the city to do, and that's one of the first things I asked the city to do, is to put every possible avenue to give an investor the incentive to buy that thing. Whether that thing is a TERS, 380 partnership, whether it's a neighborhood empowerment zone, which has already been done, tax abatement. I've asked the city to put all those things on the table to possibly bring an investor to the table, but it's just not likely. Further, you need the investor there to make that deal in the first place. If you don't have the investor, we can offer it up. But I do want the city to at least get to the point where they say that we're not going to be an obstacle for any possible investor, but that likewise the clock has to start ticking. And the clock has to start ticking till the final resolution, and that final resolution may be the demolition of that building, and it may be at the expense of the city. So to think that the city, Ms. Fitzgerald is right about that. The problem is the city allows you to order the owner to tear that building down. We can order the building torn down by the owner. We do not believe it's going to happen. We do not believe the owner will in fact do that. And of course, when the owner fails to do that by order, the city is allowed by ordinance to go in there and tear it down and levy against the property for those expenses. That may be the only way this thing goes down. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we'll take the last question here so that we can move on to the next speakers.
I just wanted to know how much it costs to demolish. Did you put
Ma'am,
a price
what-
tag? Let me tell you why. Because if it's going to cost more to demolish than to secure it and landscape it and make it presentable for a buyer, that might be an option.
Yes, ma'am. The problem with that number, I've already charged my vice chair of that committee to see about getting that number. I've asked Mr. Caranco's son to provide the information which he said he had, which of course I can't order him to provide, which is the analysis that he got from an environmental assessment regarding that building, because there may be environmental problems. We've likewise asked him to share the report he got from a firm regarding the demolition of that building. It may be a little dated, but that's the best one we're going to get for now. And we want to know that number, because that number is very important also. That number may be a number that the city's going to have to pay at some point. We may be able to levy against the property and get the property, but we may have to expend those dollars.
All righty, and last question right here, and then we'll close up this segment and move on to the next speaker.
Yes, can you please give us the name of the members of the ad hoc?
Yes, ma'am, I can. If you let me think about it off the top of my head. Myself, I was a nominated chair of that committee. Jennifer Roby is a girl that works with the Veteran Affairs federal government. She is the vice chair of the committee. Attorney Frank Saldaña is on that committee. Margie Araiza, who lives one block from that hospital, is on the committee. Cristobal Rodriguez is on that committee. He's an appointee of Mr. Bally. Finally, we have, by appointment of Alex Perez, we have Mr. Caranco himself on that committee. But let me hold on, before you all give me a hard time about that. Unfortunately, I already decided as chair of that committee that while we can have him on the committee and we welcome his input and we welcome his information, he will not be a voting member of that committee.
Hello?
So much, Mr. Lavode. I think it's been a very interesting topic.
So,
and
I guess my time's up. I mean, we can go. This is a real hot topic, I know, but.
I understand that some of the city councilmen appointed themselves to the
No, ma'am.
committee.
No, ma'am.
I was there when they did it, so I don't know.
No, ma'am, not to my knowledge, that's not correct.
You were there, right?
Number 5? Well, there were 6.
After Saldana.
Frank Saldaña, Cristobal Rodriguez, myself, Jennifer Roby, Margie Araiza. Is that 6?
Okay.
Caranco.
I promise you, this is a hot topic. Our Laredo will not drop it.
1, 2,
We will
3,
come
yes.
back to it because that's why we are meeting today. We cannot make solutions today, but we can bring the issues to the front today. We will work on it the next year for sure. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Lavode. And next, we're going to bring up a candidate running for office for County Court at Law. If we could bring up to the stage Melissa Joy Hinojosa Garcia, so she can explain to everybody who she is and her platform. Thank you so much.
Good evening. That's going to be a hard topic to follow. Well, thank you, Vish, and our Laredo for inviting me here this evening and giving me this opportunity to speak to you. I have walked around and spoken with a few of you, and I've had the opportunity to chat with you. Some of you know me, some of you do not. Once again, I am Melissa Joy Hinojosa Garcia, and I am running for judge of County Court at Law number 2. I'd like to take an opportunity tonight to tell you a little bit about myself and my experience. I am born and raised here in Laredo, Texas. My parents are Armando and Sandra Joy Hinojosa. I have 2 brothers, Robbie and David Hinojosa. I have been married for 14 years, and I have 3 beautiful children. I was educated locally here at all public schools. I went to M.S. Ryan Elementary, Lamar Middle School, and I am a proud graduate of J.W. Nixon High School. Shortly after graduation, I attended university. I earned a degree at the University of Texas in San Antonio. After that, I returned to Laredo and taught first grade for 3 years. I am part of a family that believes very strongly in education. Many of my family members, my parents, and many of my aunts have all been involved in education. They have been principals, and so I figured that I'd try my hand at teaching. I taught first grade for 3 years. I can tell you that was one of the hardest jobs I have ever had. While I enjoyed working with children, and I still love working with children, I just found that it wasn't something that I had deep within me and in my heart to continue to do for the rest of my life. And I really, truly admire teachers because I know it takes dedication and a special gift to do that. I then decided to go to law school. I always had an interest in law. There was never any lawyers in my family, but since a very young child, I think I always stood up for what I believed was fair. I always was the voice for my friends when I felt something was unfair. And so I decided that I'd take a shot at law school. I went to law school and earned my degree there at at the law school at St. Mary's University. I sat for the bar and passed the bar before I graduated in May of 2001. I decided to come back to Laredo. I have strong ties in Laredo and had no issues coming back here. In fact, I wanted to come back and serve my community. Since being licensed, my first job was at the Federal Public Defender's Office. After that, I went into private practice with my husband, where we went into the general practice of law and basically dealt with all areas of law, dealing with property, family, criminal, civil. And so I did work in all aspects of law at that point. After that, I went back to serve the community. As I said, I have a strong tie to this community. I've always wanted to serve the community. I then got a job at the city as an assistant city attorney, and shortly after that, I became a Webb County public defender. I have been licensed for 17 years. In those 17 years, I have worked in all levels of the law. Starting with the federal, I went to the city level, and then ended my career, or recently I'm at the state level. The last 3 years of my career, I have been a sitting judge. After my time at the Webb County Public Defender's Office, I was appointed by the regional judge, David Peoples, to be the Justice of the Peace of Precinct 2, Place 2 in South Laredo. Those of you may recall that we had a JP in that area, Judge Rangel, who found himself in some trouble. He was removed from the bench. I was then appointed by Judge David Peoples to take that position, and I was the interim JP in that area. I was able to turn that office around. When I was there, it was a very short time, it was 6 months, but in that 6 months, I was able to take that office out of the red. It had never been out of the red, and was able to handle all of the duties of a JP in that area. Shortly after that, I was called upon by all 4 state district judges, where I was appointed unanimously by all of the judges to be the first associate district court judge here in Laredo, Texas. I have had the pleasure of serving as an associate judge for the last 22 months. As an associate judge, I have really broadened my experience in all aspects of the law. An associate judge basically sits for the elected judges whenever there is a conflict, whenever they have to be out of town, whenever they're sick, or whenever they're tied up in trials and they have a regular docket. The associate judge takes over and sits in the place of that judge. So in essence, I have been sitting for all 4 district judges for almost the last 2 years, and I have gained numerous topics and levels of experience as doing that and doing that job. I will say for you that running for office was not something that I had ever aspired to. I am not a politician. I simply want to serve this community. I simply have what is best in heart and in my mind for this community. So I ask you to consider, when you go out and vote in March, to consider voting for somebody who has experience, someone who has a proven record of integrity, somebody who has been called on time and time again by people in the courts that know about what happens in courts. I have been selected, like I said, whenever this county has been in trouble, and I have stepped up to serve this community. I really, really appreciate this time that I've gotten to spend with you, and I ask for your support in March. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Melissa. Okay, so now we're gonna bring on stage Frank Castillo.
Hello, my name is Frank Castillo. Well, that was kind of bizarre, following a judge in speaking. I normally stand before a judge at times in what I do in my work as a juvenile probation officer. So why am I here? Thank you, Vish. Thank you, our Laredo. Thank you, Armando. Thank you, all the ladies that I have been so fortunate to meet. They are doing an outstanding job leading the group. I thank them. I congratulate them. I'm happy to be aware of what you do, and I'm very much happy that you are informing the public, which is, after all, what I try to do. Keep informed. Don't let people mislead you as to what is the truth. You guys are doing an outstanding job. May I ask for a round of applause for our Laredo, please? That is exactly why I stand up here today, to congratulate them. Besides that, I was surprised again to follow an eloquent speaker like the judge, and I know that the judge is also here, Judge Villarreal. So what is my motivation to have run for UIZ School Board District? Well, it's because we care about our community. We see the injustices that happen. Unfortunately, we see things happen in our community, and I'm referring to the City Council. Our City Council is under arms right now. They're being investigated, they're being looked at closely. It's really a very shameful experience, if you ask me. And that, to me, drives me to really try to come out and help the public. I believe in community first. I believe in community first. I believe the needs and the will of the public are the most important that we need to adhere to. What does the public want? What are all the different interests that we have? I believe in working values, working people values. Where I live in, which is everything basically District 6 of the City Council, we're talking working class people, two-income families. This is not what many picture as being absolutely just so rich that they don't need to be involved. Well, we have a working class neighborhood where I live at, which is Tierra. It's a working class neighborhood. My wife and I both work. We are still struggling to make ends meet. We still pay our taxes. So when we see something happening at the city that tells us something's not right, that I am very upset about. So I believe, like our Laredo, if not you, then who? Are you going to sit back and wait for somebody to come and speak for you, or are you going to do it yourself? Ladies and gentlemen, that's what I've been trying to do the last 4 years. I don't deny that everything that I've ever learned motivated me was the campaign of Bernie Sanders. He spoke up. He's still speaking up. He's still pushing an agenda that I believe in. Just recently, here in Laredo with Senate Bill 4. I don't have an issue keeping people who are violent or criminal out of this country, but you know what? It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the color of my skin. It has to do with my brown hair, my brown eyes. They want to discriminate against you and me. That's what they want to do. And I'm not going to put up with it. I'm going to challenge that. I am going to challenge that as much as I can. Thank you. One of the things that I've been trying to do with the city for the last maybe like a year and a half, I'm going to qualify that, is to try to bring people who have public administration degrees into the city council. I have been pushing that even with UISD. I believe that we lack that. You have people running our departments that don't have an idea what it is to run effective and efficient departments. They're wasting money. They are literally wasting our taxpayers' money. So please, when you look at people who to vote for or who do you want to support, look at some of those backgrounds, please. Consider the public administrator. I want to bring a management fellows program with the city. I'm hoping to make it a reality this year, and I want that to be at the forefront when we help our city grow and expand in the right direction. I want young people involved. I want people who just recently got their master's degrees in public administration to be there, to guide us. Unfortunately, I think they're there, but they're not being utilized. They're not being utilized in leadership positions. I believe very firmly in education. I believe that education is the key. That's why I did run for UISD school board. If you put out the final product in a way that motivates students, they will come back to Laredo. I heard a speaker talk about that. You know, why did they want to stay away? Quite frankly, they shouldn't. Laredo, it is a jewel. We have so many needs, and we need our young people back from other areas that they left to, and we need them because they need to be compensated justly and fairly, and they need to be given an equal opportunity to find those jobs here in Laredo. They shouldn't be looking for the jobs in Dallas, San Antonio, and other states, which is what happens. And I'm referring to everybody who gets a college education. So many issues. One of the things I did learn when I did run for the school board is that actually people are a lot more progressive than they realize. They are a lot more progressive in what they believe in. They believe, and we believe, in stricter controls on lobbying. We don't agree with big money. We don't agree with money being given to candidates where then they are silenced or basically controlled. We don't, and I don't. That's why I refuse to take any money in my campaign. And in the future, I will also be doing that. It's unpractical. It cannot exist with free government, with democracy. It was never meant to be that way. It was supposed to be one person, one vote. It wasn't supposed to be $1,000, 1,000 votes. No. And we need to do that at the city. As a beginning point, that's where we need to start. We need to find out where and who's getting the money. So many topics, so many areas, so many things to discuss. I'll be happy to meet with anybody who'd like to discuss any of my findings of things that I've been looking and studying, because at the end of the day, I'm also academician. I like to study. I like scholarly work. So thank you so much for your attention. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much. And again, Frank Castillo's candidate for City Council District 6. We're going to hear from more candidates today, but we'd like to bring up to the floor, she's no stranger to us, Sandra Rocha Taylor. She's going to talk about another controversial issue that's been brewing on the burner, the CLMMD, the City of Laredo Municipal Management District. So, Ms. Rocha Taylor.
Okay, I'm short, so can you see me above the? All right. No, I'm okay. Okay, so, you know what? Give me a second. If I may, I'm going to grab my glasses because I typed this out to be quick and then I didn't bring my glasses. Oh. Oh, wait. Here. Dad to the rescue. He's giving. Okay, there you go.
We'll just sing all together now.
Kumbaya.
There you go. All righty. So glasses have been brought up to the stage.
There we go. Okay. I still recall the conversation Mr. Vega and I initially had about the creation of the Central Laredo Municipal Management District. I thought we would be approached by the city and asked if this was something that we wanted to do. Boy, were we wrong. It was an awakening of sorts to find out how much is done at city council meetings and during day-to-day that affects us all, and we believe that the people in charge are looking out for our best interest. Well, that is not always the case, and sadly, we were asleep at the wheel. A handful of people created this entity that could tax, or as they like to call it, assess a fee for improvement of their district. In theory, it sounds great, except when you realize that this group was self-appointed and that it is considered a political subdivision separate from the city or the county. More importantly, the city and the county have nothing to do with them. In addition, when they initiate their tax or assess their fee, if you do not pay, they can foreclose on your property, similar to how the city, county, and school districts foreclose for lack of payment. If you don't believe that they can do this, check with the appraisal district because they already have a line item for the CLMMD on their tax receipts. And if you call the city, they will say that they have nothing to do with the CLMMD. But the silver lining is that we were able to push them back to downtown from the Heights and San Bernardo. I say back because most of the people on the board were in the downtown area or had interest in that area. I currently cannot get anyone to tell me what the actual boundaries are, but I always hear the city refer to the CLMMD and having them review this or that for the downtown area. But where are their boundaries? Does anyone here know? I don't either. One of the greatest things that came from this was that many of us here met at the meetings regarding the petitions to dissolve the CLMMD. many of us started paying attention to city council meeting agendas. I'm not saying that we were the first to speak up about issues, but when people realized that their properties were at risk of being charged even more taxes, people really started paying attention and listening. Several groups have formed because I believe many of us are mad as hell and we don't want to take it anymore. We are blessed to have individuals like several of you who are willing to research, investigate, speak out, and attend council meetings. It can be tiring and stressful, but if we can come to the truth regarding issues, it is so important. I know things aren't always as they seem to be, but as taxpayers, I believe we are owed explanations as to why certain things are occurring or not occurring. I see our Laredo as coming together of several groups for the betterment of our community. I may not always agree with some of the issues, but it is important to listen because I have been surprised to find out certain things that have been discovered. In regards to the CLMMD, I understand that they have not been meeting. They're a public subdivision, so they should abide by the Open Records Act. But according to them, they haven't met. But a lot of things have been moving forward, so I'm confused about that. But they plan to meet soon, supposedly. They are finalizing their board members to come before council for approval. Yes, that is the only thing that the city can do, approve or disapprove of their board. We need to formally request their boundaries. I still get calls from people that do not want to be part of the district, but don't know if they're within it or out of it. We had asked the mayor to videotape their meetings or to stream them live and to ask for more public posting of their meetings. I brought with me a binder, and I want you to understand that we are in 2017. In 2014, 200 of us, 200 of people from the city of Laredo went to a meeting at TAMIU. And we stood up there and we voiced our opinions. Some of us had never met. Some of us had been meeting. I know Mr. Vega from Vegas Interiores walked door to door up and down San Bernardo. I know Mrs. Ramirez from Ramirez Tire helped us in the Heights area. I know that there were so many here, Millie Herford and her husband also that met with us. And we just went out and we said, if 20 of us can invite 10 people, we'll have a good group. The 200 people that were there were able to stop the tax. The meeting was in December of 2014. The tax was supposed to be initiated on the 1st of January of 2015. That was all the notice we had. They never had public meetings to discuss this with us, and that's what was so upsetting to us. If they're going to initiate a tax right now, there's a bond election. They bring it to the voters for people to decide if you want to support those bonds. But this was never brought to us. It went directly through the legislature. It was approved in December of 2013. That's when it was approved, which means how many years before that were they meeting and getting together and discussing what they wanted to do with this district? At least a year? I doubt they put it together and took it to the legislative session in 6 months. So think about it. We were all left out of the loop. We were able to trace it back to where it came before City Council. And the way it came out at City Council, it was a motion made to discuss economic development tools. And at the very end, there was a sentence, and create a municipal management district. How many of you here raise your hand that understand what a municipal management district is or what it does? 1, 2, 3, 4. I know now. And when we researched it, we met people from Houston. And these people had all these districts in Houston, and they were suing the creators of some of those districts. Some of them had their properties foreclosed. And that gentleman that they were suing in Houston was the consultant that they hired in Laredo to create this. Not only that, but the council members put together money from our our tax money, they put it together, and they paid for this consultant. Yet, when we tried to go to some of these initial meetings, we were kept out of it because we were told we had to contribute $5,000, $2,000 to pay the consultant. I thought that was outrageous. And I was very happy to see that a lot of people, once they started understanding what was happening, were outraged. I was called by our Laredo because someone wanted to know if we had footage from that meeting at TAMIU, and yes. We had a wonderful person that videotaped it for us, and I have some of the videos here. It's a part 1 and a part 2 because the meeting that they thought was going to last for 30 minutes, and that the district, understand this, the district was all of San Bernardo up to Chicago Street, all of the Heights area up to Meadow, Guadalupe, Chihuahua, Corpus Christi, and Market, and all of the downtown area, including some of Santa Ursula, up to Scott Street, all the way up San Bernardo. They were going to tax the commercial properties to improve those areas without any of us knowing. That's crazy. But thank goodness we all got together. We pushed them back. They still exist, though. So we need to understand what their plans are, and if they need to be dissolved, we need to work together to dissolve them. Thank you very much, and I applaud our Laredo. Excuse me? Yes, ma'am. Correct. Representation, exactly. Thank you. Oh, before I go, I want to mention one more thing. We were part of the group also that, at least I was, moving Laredo forward, that was looking for at-large elections. I know not everybody agrees with that, but one of the reasons we wanted to do that was because when we went to our council members, each one of us, even though we had businesses on San Bernardo or downtown, wherever they were, we lived in all of these council members' districts. And we went and we asked them to support us. And their reply, well, that's the downtown, that's not my district. And that's not my district. And when we went to Bali, whose district it was, he said, well, you know, we're gonna still go through with it. He didn't care, we didn't vote for him. So we were kind of stuck in the middle. But they called us a small group of loud people. But I think they're finding out we're a large group. That's right, we're very noisy. Thank you.
He's a county court at law number 2. He replaced former Judge Drew Garza, who was indicted. He's also a candidate for pre-March election for a county court at law.
First of all, let me say thank you to our Laredo for the invitation. It's so good to be here with a group of active, involved, educated participants of our process, of the political process in Webb County and Laredo. I also want to thank Vish for the opportunity to speak today. I first met Vish in 1996 or 97 when I was a student at TAMIU. There was a lot of collaboration between his department and Career Planning and Services, where I was a student worker. So I certainly remember him from my time as a student at TAMIU. Webb County Court at Law number 2 belongs to the people. The court belongs to the people of Webb County, and it belongs to the people that have cases in that court. My name is Victor Villarreal, and I'm a husband, father, and judge. My wife, Lorena, is here today, and we have 2 beautiful baby girls, Sofia, who is 2 years old, and Andrea is a year old. I graduated from TAMIU with my bachelor's and from the University of Texas School of Law with my law degree. Let me give you a little bit of background. At TAMIU, I was a student ambassador, orientation leader, and part of the Student Government Association, which is how I would run into Vish often. Next, between the time that I went to law school and my bachelor's, I did an internship at the Texas House of Representatives. As part of our project, our internship project, we, through my leadership, brought the project down to Laredo and made a donation to the El Cenizo Library. So we brought a group of interns from across the state to donate money to the El Cenizo Library, and that's how I met our MC, Tricia Cortez, in 2003, who wrote a story on our internship project. At the University of Texas School of Law, I was president of the Hispanic Law Student Association, the largest Hispanic law student association of its kind at the time. And through my leadership, we created the Dean Susana Aleman Scholarship at the University of Texas School of Law. After graduating from law school, I came back to my hometown because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to practice law in Laredo and Webb County. I became involved in the Bar Association, and as president of the Laredo-Webb County Bar Association, we created the Barbara Kazin Scholarship at TAMIU for students. After my service with the local bar, I did service to the Texas Young Lawyers Association, the statewide organization, and on my time there, we brought, through my leadership, the Texas Supreme Court down to Laredo and Webb County for the first time in the history of the state of Texas, so that students at TAMIU can participate and can watch proceedings in the Texas Supreme Court at their hometown university. So that's my background. What am I doing now? I've been judge of County Court at Law number 2 for 3 months now, and in that short amount of time, we've been very busy. We've been busy giving people their day in court. I've been taking time to listen to people, to hearing evidence, to providing justice and giving closure to countless families in Webb County. As many of you all may know, during my first month as judge, we closed 282 cases. And during my second month, we closed even more cases, and we brought the total up, and we closed 1,024 total cases. Let me tell you, there's a couple of ways. First, we had our coordinators look at all the open cases that hadn't been addressed for years, and we set them on the docket. And what that means is we invited the people that filed the cases to come to court and say, are you going to proceed? Are you going to withdraw? Are you going to dismiss? Move your case. And this was for both state, for criminal and civil cases. And let me tell you, our Laredo tonight is going to be the first to know, because that was the first 2 months. I've now been on the bench for 3 months. I want you all to be the first to know that during our third month, we closed an additional 665 cases, bringing our total to 1,689 cases closed. My wife is here, and she can tell you that I've been approached at restaurants, and let me give you an example. Last week, a lady approached us and said, "Thank you for divorcing me. My case had been reset and reset and reset and reset 4 times. You heard my case and you divorced me on the first hearing." She said I was fair, patient, respectful, and that I treated her with dignity. She thanked me because I gave her her day in court. That's exactly what I said I was going to do when I applied to become judge. I promised to reform the court. As a practicing attorney in County Court at Law number 2, I saw what worked, what didn't work, what I liked, what I didn't like in county court. And I know that as an attorney, my worth as an attorney was how quick I could provide relief and justice and a solution and resolution to the cases of my clients. As a judge, I believe that justice delayed is justice denied. And I believe in providing equal access to justice for everyone. Thank you. I believe that the court is about the people. It's not about attorneys. And we've been implementing new processes, new procedures, dockets, and being blind to the attorneys practicing before the court. And I promised then what I promise you now, I will not rest until the docket in County Court Atlanta number 2 is efficient and up to date. And we're seeing the results. For example, we've closed criminal cases and civil cases that had been open since the 1990s. And cases that typically took 2, 3, or more years, we're now seeing a resolution within 60 days. All litigants, everybody that comes to court, and all lawyers are treated equally and respectfully. The presentation of their evidence is heard impartially. I do encourage people to reach a resolution, to try to settle their case, but I let them know that I'm here to hear your case. There's no rush, because they can have their day in court. So when there's no agreement, I patiently listen to the evidence. There was one attorney, I can tell you the story, there was one attorney who was concerned that he wouldn't get through his case and finish presenting his evidence by 5 p.m. on a Friday. And I told him what I tell all attorneys and all people in court. Take your time. I'm here for you. Let the court listen to the evidence, present your case, and on that day, we left on a Friday after 8 p.m. And that wasn't the only Friday that we've stayed late. And my wife is here and she can tell you that. But County Court at Law number 2 is important because the people that have cases before the court are important. We hear criminal cases, family cases, custody cases, juvenile cases, guardianship cases, will contest cases, mental cases, and civil cases. I'm very happy to work hard. I'm very happy to be patient, to listen to the evidence fairly. I enjoy this work, and my family and I are dedicated to public service. Lorena and I, obviously we love our daughters. We want to create a community that we're happy for them to grow up and to live in and to thrive in. That's what we're doing in County Court at Law number 2. We're helping to make that community. So at this time, I humbly and very respectfully ask for your vote to continue providing justice, equal justice for all, and to continue being transparent and accountable. And I did hear our MC ask whether the speakers would have any suggestion for members of our Laredo. I do. I have the suggestion that I tell all people, participate in the court process. Come and visit County Court at Law number 2. You know, it's just as important to, you know, all court proceedings are open to the public, just like you go to, and it's important to go to City Hall and to all these meetings. Court proceedings are open to the public. Come and visit us. We welcome you. We want you to see the work that's being done in County Court at Law number 2. So again, I thank Vish for the invitation. I thank you all for hearing me, and I humbly and very respectfully ask for your support and your vote. Thank you so much.
Yes, and our Laredo will be having debates of candidates, so please come out to those. They'll be announcing them for all of, it'll be a lively election. Let's see, we have a few more speakers, and then we'll take a break and then finish out with our panel to talk about the future and our cutting of the cake. We still have some speakers, and if we could bring, she's been waiting so patiently, and we work together on so many projects on environmentally related issues. If we could bring to the floor Miss Lynn Sutherland Nava of Keep Laredo Beautiful.
Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. Thank you, Vish, for inviting me. Thank you, Our Laredo, for having me. And I'm here to just give you a little overview about what Keep Laredo Beautiful is. We are a program that was established by the city in 2006. I have been the executive director since the inception of the program. So I have been with the city for a long time. I'm going on 13 years. So it's been quite a ride, needless to say. But our program is based on Keep America Beautiful and Keep Texas Beautiful. They are our parent affiliates. Keep America Beautiful and Keep Texas Beautiful have 3 goals. We have the same goals. And it's litter prevention education, community greening, which includes revitalization of communities, and the reuse and reduction of solid waste, which of course is recycling. We focus a lot on litter prevention education and community revitalization. And I could sit here and I could tell you about all the different projects we do. And as Tricia said, we are partners. We do lots of things together, just as we do lots of things apart. One of the things that I can tell you that we do is we go into the schools, we speak to the kids. And when I first started with the program, one of the questions we would always ask was, who keeps Laredo beautiful? And the kids would respond, the city, the county, my mom, my grandmother, my dad. And now when we ask who keeps Laredo beautiful, they say we do. And it's through educating our children that we are able to change the behavior and the mindset that it's somebody else's responsibility to keep our community clean. It's our responsibility to keep our community clean. Keep America Beautiful's research shows that if every person in a community picks up 2 pieces of trash a day, whether it's their trash or somebody else's trash, if everybody takes the initiative to pick up 2 pieces of trash a day, then our community will remain a clean community. And I think that the plastic bag reduction campaign or the checkout bag reduction campaign was very successful in allowing our community to look a lot cleaner. And I am the first person to tell you I'm glad to no longer see plastic blossoms in our trees, because they're very, and I have one right now in my backyard. It's sat there, it's stuck up high in the tree. But it makes a big difference driving down one of our roadways and not seeing lots of that type of litter that is unnecessary and that was put there because of irresponsibility. So we also do, again, community revitalization. And I'm going to give you an example of what we do in terms of community revitalization. We're partners with Holding Institute, where we are sitting right now. Outdoors, we have a community garden that we've established. We've had all kinds of veggies grow there. We've got raised beds. We also have a compost tea bin that produces compost tea, where we take and capture the tea or the liquid that's produced from the compost, and we use that tea to water the raised beds. In addition, we're creating fresh dirt. So we use that soil whenever we're going in to give our raised beds nutrients. So then we create better vegetables. And they're better vegetables because we know what was put in the soil. We don't have to guess. We don't have to read a label. We know exactly what was put in that compost bin, so we know that it's all good and clean and it's edible. You could eat the dirt, basically, and you would be A-okay. So I highly recommend composting if you've got the space for it. And you can go through and see it if you'd like after the meeting. It's a beautiful little area. And another little component of that is we basically have been working with Holding since it was reintroduced into the community, I want to say about 6 years ago. We've been working with them, and it's not just about planting and it's not just about composting, but it's also about maintaining a facility that is nice to look at, it's painted, it's well taken care of, and we follow the broken window concept. If you have a neighborhood that has an abandoned building and somebody breaks a window and nobody fixes the window, then another window is broken, and then a tire is thrown, and then litter is dumped, and then it becomes an eyesore. And I believe we were speaking about one of those earlier today. So the broken window concept is alive and well. It's alive and well in our community as it is in every other community across America. So we're doing what we can to help address that. And again, working with partners like Tricia, working with partners like Mike, with the Boy Scouts of America, with the Girl Scouts of America, we work with all these different community groups, and what we do is we leverage our resources and we take a program and we expand it through all of the other people in the community that are wanting to do the same thing. Thank you.
Lynn, I think we've got a question.
Thank you so much for the work that you do and the passion that you have for keeping our city clean, or not keeping our city clean, the efforts to try to get it clean.
Exactly.
Because you know, thank God we live in a country where we can voice our opinions and everything, and we can take opposing sides. I personally was not in favor of the plastic bag ban, but I'm glad that it is cleaner. I followed a trash truck from Bob Bullock Loop to the dump one day, and I counted 13 plastic bags flying out of the back of that truck. On I-35, on my way downtown one time, there was a trash truck. I counted, and this is not an exaggeration, God is my witness, 42 pieces of trash flew out the top of that truck. So I get home and I call the city, the sanitation department, and I said, hey, we have a problem. She said, what's the deal? I said, your trash trucks, rather than doing what taxpayer dollars are intending and getting the trash to the dump, you're spreading it all over the city. And she says, oh my goodness, sometimes those compartments that close, they don't close sometimes. And I said, well, can you report that to a supervisor? She says, well, I'll see what I can do. Now, obviously, we can, as a community, as a nation, and I do pick up trash. But I don't like the fact that there's people that continue to reside in this community that think that it's okay to throw trash out. My wife and I flew into Atlanta a couple of years ago to visit my daughter who lives in Augusta, Georgia. It's about a 120-mile drive, 130 miles. We were shocked that there wasn't a single piece of trash on the highway that we saw between Atlanta and Augusta, the very first trip that we made. And we were just like, wow, you know, this is so clean. Well, then we got the answer. There was a sign along the highway, and it didn't say, don't mess with Georgia. It said, littering, $1,200 fine. And that, I guarantee you, will create a different culture in our community, because littering is my pet peeve. As a kid growing up, and I'll be 63 this year, I can remember when you would almost get into a fight in elementary when someone called you a litter bug. To now, people, you know, today, people just don't care. My wife says, you're going to give yourself a heart attack. You know, when I see somebody roll down the window, and you know, and she's right, I need to calm down, but I would like to see more of an effort on the part of our city, and through your efforts, great efforts, of trying to see if the city can enforce ordinances more, because we can pick up trash, you know, from today until the cows come home, but we will never have the clean, beautiful city that we all want if the people that are throwing out trash outnumber those that want a clean city. So I believe that rather than don't mess with Texas, don't mess with Laredo, we need signs that say specifically, littering, $1,000 fine. Now, somebody told me, well, no, Ivan, you can't do that. And I said, why? Because you'll drive away the shoppers from Mexico. No. In McAllen or in Mercedes, while my wife was shopping, I sat on a bench and I interviewed people. And I said, why do you come here instead of Laredo? They said, because this area is cleaner. So the people from Monterrey, from Saltillo, from San Luis Potosí want a clean Laredo also. Granted, there are some people that throw out trash and everything, or they'll undo packages and put them under the car and then drive off. But those are very few nowadays. But I would just like to see our city put teeth into these efforts and not just humbly ask, people, please be clean. No, put some teeth into it. And I guarantee you that we will get the results that we all want to see. Thank you.
And I think we have one more comment, and then we'll go to our next speaker. Again, we just have a few more speakers before our break. Thank y'all.
Yes, what I wanted to ask you is, do you know what the status is on the court appeal of the city ordinances against, what would you say, against not allowing plastic bags by businesses? What's the status of that court?
It's still in court. They haven't brought it up yet. I mean, they're still fighting it. Right now, there is no enforcement being done because the court has said that we cannot insist on or we cannot have an ordinance that bans the bag, so to speak. Go ahead, Trish.
I think right now it's at the Supreme Court. They're in their summer recess. So when they come back, they are expected to hear it. Nobody really knows when that exactly will be. But you have people filing amicus briefs on either side of the issue. And Houston, the city of Houston, just filed a powerful dynamite amicus brief supporting Laredo, saying we don't have a plastic bag ordinance, but we don't like the bigger picture, which is certain groups in Austin wanting to preempt and take away power from municipalities, and Houston saying, don't come in here and tell us what to do or not do for our city and for our economy. So that's what's happening right now.
And I'd like for you to realize that Keep Laredo Beautiful is not ordinance-based. We do not have ordinances. We do not enforce ordinances. We don't have code enforcement officers. We are a nonprofit that functions for the sole purpose of education and action, because we do both. Volunteers, we utilize volunteers in the community. Keep Laredo Beautiful is a one-person staff. The city funds my position so that I work with the community to create the Great American Cleanup, work with Trisha on Dia del Rio, Make a Difference Day, the big event, National Native Species Planting. Right now we're working on the Master Gardener program and bringing it back to Laredo. So those are the types of things that our program does. We don't deal with ordinance. I agree with you about the signage, but that's a TxDOT issue. TxDOT is the one that is allowed to put signs along the highways. We're not, even the city's not allowed to do that. That has to go through TxDOT. So
Right.
TxDOT has the ultimate say. Even cleaning up on I-35 isn't allowed. We can't say, oh, you know what, we want to get up on I-35 and it's a risk issue. They don't want to have the liability.
All right. Well, thank you all so much. Cordelia, if you don't mind just asking, so we just need to just move forward.
The only comment that I have is, I don't know what we can do about it, but I know in the valley, in Brownsville, and those cities, they have alleys, and they have trash pickup. We don't have that in downtown Laredo, and
No.
that's one of the big problems. So more trash cans or something to help with the trash would also.
I know that Laredo has dual trash pickup in downtown. They pick up in the morning, they pick up in the afternoon. Every day. And so I don't know that more trash cans would necessarily help. I can tell you that even, I've been trying to just institute getting recycling bins out in the public, but people don't even respect the recycling bins because they use them as trash cans. And once something's contaminated, then it can no longer be sold. So then it becomes trash anyway.
Alrighty, thank you so much, Ms. Lynn Nava from Keep Laredo Beautiful.
So now we're gonna present David James.
Hello, I'm David James. They asked me to come and speak and, keep it over 3 minutes, under 3 minutes, whatever. They didn't give me a time limit to hit some of the key points that I think that are important to our community.
There's a slight time limit.
I think our secondary water source is a very important example. I know that we spent $75 or $99 million on the Pico water plant. That is not a secondary water source. It's the same water source. It's a Rio Grande. The Dimmitt Utilities Council Commission would be a secondary water source. That's one. I heard Mr. Rodriguez talk about our children leaving and not coming back because of lack of opportunities. In business, businesses don't stay in Laredo because of lack of infrastructure. And I'm talking about more than roads and bridges, people. Waste management is one of those things. Our current landfill, the city dump, you can see beyond the curvature of the earth in a helicopter. Right now, they're currently dumping on the west side of the dump again that has no liner and is closest to the Rio Grande. These are facts. I'm not sold out. I don't care who Ana Galo is. I do not care who anybody is. I care about all of us. I care about my children and my grandchildren and the infrastructure that's needed to be in place for them to stay here. No business, no industry is going to come into our community to a dump that's already asked for permission for an extension. Where are they going to throw their trash? We all create trash. There was a big deal to do with toxicity. An apple seed, if left alone, becomes cyanide. That's toxic. But we're misinformed or we're led astray with misinformation. I invite all of you to look for the facts and the truth. Go beyond what it is. Research for yourself. Pick up the book. Don't just go to an internet blog, hear me talk, in my opinion, Mr. Castillo's opinion. Look for your own opinion and find the truth. These are just a few of the points that I want. The other big point would be, when we started our Laredo, and I was a founding member, no longer a part of it, was because there was a whole lot of flies around our homes because they started the pickup with the recycling, and we had Cindy Liendo and Roque Vela go out and try to explain to us how to recycle. Now we know it's a farce. The recycling is for profit for one company. It's not for the betterment of us. It's not. One company in particular, thank you, is profiting from what we're trying to do the right thing for. We're trying to recycle. We're trying to make the world better. The people that are actually in charge of it don't care. They're there for the profit. Profit that could go to the city to lower your utility bill, which goes back to the water and the Pico plant. That money was for a secondary water source. We built a Pico water plant. What's going to happen when the river gets contaminated upstream from it? We're going to get poisoned. No filter is going to stop salmonella, E. coli. No filter, no temperature can stop this. What happens when Mexico decides not to keep their side of the bargain and starts to poison our river? Our secondary water source went into our primary water source, but no one knew. We do not hold our elected officials accountable. What I'm asking is for all of us to hold not only ourselves accountable, but each and every one of our elected officials. Visit Mr. Villarreal in court. Talk to other people. Get out there, partake, be a part of something. Start a blog, whatever you feel that you have to do that can help your community. I believe, I'm not a supporter of the plastic bag ban. I think personal responsibility is above all else. Instead of saying, I have to pass a law to protect you from yourself. No. How about education? How about educating our children to be intelligent and not just to pass a test? There's so many issues I have, and I can't touch on every single one of them, but these are the ones that I want the most. Accountability from our elected officials, accountability from us to make them accountable. Thank you.
All righty, thank you, Mr. James. Next, we have another candidate, and we have, he is a candidate for City Council, District 6. And let's bring up to the stage Mr. Rick Laurel.
Good afternoon. Thank you and congratulations on your 2nd anniversary. I hope to be here on your 5th, 10th, 20th, and 50th. You know, it's funny, Vish, we were texting on Facebook and he says, hey, how you doing? Are you coming by the event? I said, yeah, I'll be there. I want to support your cause. He goes, okay, you want to talk? I said, yeah, great, we're going to talk. Okay, I put you down for 3 minutes. I was like, oh my God, you're going to put me to talk in front of people. But I appreciate the moment, the time to talk to a group as diverse and as passionate as you are. I congratulate you, sir, for leading this group of people that give their effort and their due diligence to make sure that they push the transparency and accountability onto elected officials. I'm here today not as a possible candidate, but I'm here as a constituent of District 6, a proud parent of a United Independent School District children, 3 of them to be exact. I brought my 15-year-old son with me so that he can see this event, so that he can see what this is all about. My father was an elected official of Webb County. He was a Webb County tax assessor collector back in the 80s and early 90s. Growing up, seeing my father at the events and speaking and having people talk to him, you got to see this, and I got involved and I saw what it took, the hard work. And it's not only on the elected side, but also on groups like yourselves that come out and give it 110%. None of you have to do this. None of you have to do this, and none of you get paid to do this. I applaud you for this. This is a great milestone, 2nd year of many. But I also want to suggest that just like I brought my 15-year-old son, because I want him to be in tune with local politics, state and federal politics, I want all our children to be able to be involved in politics, whether it's local or whether it's at the state level. Go to the judge's office, go to the judge's court, sit and watch a session. Go to the city council meetings. They're all open. Everybody is there. Everybody can see. Everybody can speak if they want to. It's all open to the public. I want our children to be able to be here in your seats and see what's happening. You know, the suggestion that I have to the group is I see a very diverse group of people at an age level about the same. It's time to bring in the TAMU students. It's time to bring in high school students. It's time to bring in our youth so that we can develop them and be the better future, to have the better future for Laredo. My son is here, my daughter's watching live on our Laredo and Facebook, and I want them to be proud of a straight, arrowed father that they have. And I'm here to help you in any way that I can possibly help, and I commend you on all your accolades and your many to come. Thank you very much.
Good evening, and I'd first like to thank y'all for allowing me to come speak to y'all. But second of all, and more importantly, I'd like to congratulate y'all on the work that you do, which is going out there, questioning those that are of authority, and as the last speaker said, keeping or making sure that they are accountable to you and I, the citizens and taxpayers of Laredo-Webb County. One thing that y'all know of very well, and I know Vish does extremely well, is every city councilman. I just want y'all to put this in perspective. Every city councilman, to my understanding, has $500,000 a year that they can spend however they wish, okay? I'm a CPA by profession. That's my day job sometimes. Very quickly, that's $4 million. That is 200 kids could go to A&M International for that amount every year. They could pay not only tuition, room and board, books, everything. They could, instead of putting up, street posts, they could be putting our children through school. But instead, they're using the money to put their own names on monuments and et cetera. So anyway, what y'all do is very important because you're making people aware of what's really going on within our elected officials. Two things that I'd like to speak on this evening briefly, because I know everybody's been here for a while and definitely are ready for a break. One is something I'm involved in, which is election administration. I'm on the commission with my position as county chair of the Republican Party. And I will let y'all know, if you haven't attended any of the commission hearings, which we've had a couple, there are some people in this county who are after our election administrator. And he is not here, and it's not that I'm speaking on his behalf, I'm really speaking on the county's behalf. Not the county government, the citizens of the county. We have currently a very good, highly respected across the state of Texas election administrator. But he just happens to follow the rules and he happens to try to do his best job. And because certain people, well, in every race where there's an opponent, guess what? Somebody lost. And those people are not happy with him. And we just need to keep that in perspective as we go forward. Fortunately, I have one other vote with me on the commission that is keeping him in there, but it's a day-to-day fight with him and it's getting old. The other side has people that they wish to line up to put in his position, and those people will be puppets. Our current election administrator is not a puppet of any elected official or any candidate. And for the candidates that are out here that have worked with him, you'll know that he is not going to give an inch. So that's what I'm going to say there. And the other thing, dealing with our election commission, something that we need to do in our county. Unfortunately, our balloting system is quite antiquated. And therefore, in order to have accurate counting, accurate results, it does take a while in the evenings. If anybody, I don't know if any of y'all have, I know some of the candidates, I know Vish has gone after an election that night and actually watched what they have to do. It's a lot of work. And it's a lot of work because of the particular system. There is a way out of it. We've looked into it. We've had a couple of vendors come down, make presentations. One made a presentation of extremely good equipment. and there's only one slight problem: money. So be aware when the commission comes out and starts asking for the county for this money. What we're trying to do is have it where we can have literally 8:30 results of an 8 o'clock election. The last thing I'd like to speak on very quickly, as I see I'm already being waved down, is my position and what I do and what I ask you all to consider, except for a few that can't, absolutely can't, because they're already on the other ballot. We in Laredo, a lot of people do not vote on a Republican ballot or on a non-Democratic ballot in the primary, mainly because they want to vote for somebody locally. Well, by voting for somebody locally, you got to take a couple of things into effect. Number one, it's very difficult to bring down Republican candidates when we have a very, very small base here that is going to vote for them in the primary. We can get more down when it comes down to the November election, general elections, but it's very difficult to get anybody down here and support us and support the conservatives here in the county for the primary. The second reason is look at what is happening in our county on the other ballot. The other ballot is becoming used fewer and fewer times. We have this huge listing of registered voters, but fewer percentage are wishing to come out and vote. And it's because of what y'all know more than anybody, and that is not just the candidates, but the office holders. And a lot of people don't want to come out to vote not because our system's antiquated, don't listen to that side, but it's because of the names that are on that ballot. And we've got to work on number one, the other side doesn't think that their names are a problem, so we have to prove that that is the problem. We have to prove that we can have candidates on our side and they're going to be viable. We do currently, we will have coming out in the next few months, candidates that will be local, running for races that are going to be on my ballot, the Republican ballot. So think about that. The Democratic ballot has gotten so bad, unfortunately, that if you look at the last election, the Democratic push that came through the state of Texas in the last few weeks of the campaign skipped Laredo. They hit all the other major cities in South Texas, but they skipped Laredo because they knew that there were going to be so few people come out and vote. Thank y'all for your interest. Thank y'all for doing what you do, and let's see what we can do to bring the number of ballots up.
And again, so thank y'all. Y'all have been sitting down and you've been so patient, and there were just so many people who signed up that wanted to say a few comments. There's only a couple of speakers left. We wanted to bring up a 15-year-old young man representing the future of Laredo, if you will, here to express his thoughts. And if we could bring up Mr. Oscar A. Lopez III.
Thank you for having me. I want to thank our Laredo for coming out with this event, for Vish and for Armando for all that they've done for the community. First of all, to introduce myself, my name is Oscar Armando Lopez III. I recently turned 17. Currently, I'm serving as the senior class president at United High School, so that has been an amazing honor to see how we could improve our school.
If we could keep the noise level down in the back, just so, sorry, we could keep the noise level down in the back so we can hear our speaker. Thank you so much.
And as well, I have served as a representative on the Superintendent's Student Advisory Board. So I and many others have been working with Superintendent Santos on ways that we can make the district a better district, a more efficient district. Through my positions, I've had the chance to talk to a ton of people from my school and from the school district. And one thing that I've noticed is that a lot of people my age are interested or getting involved in government or in our city. And I think it's something that we've all noticed in the past couple of years. I've talked to many people my age in my classes, and I'll say, hey, do you know that this is going on? Do you know this is going on? They're like, no, I didn't know that. Or really, that's going on? Or they'll tell me, well, I really don't care. And I find it kind of sad. Them being the future of our city, them being the people that are going to one day be running for mayor, be running for a city council position or for a Webb County position, they are our future. And this is where it starts. This is where that seed is sown into these people. And so one thing I want to do is I want to encourage you all, with the children that you have, with the people that you know, encourage them to get more involved. Encourage them to take an interest into what's going on around their city, around their community. One thing that I've been doing, myself is with the people around me, I'll talk to them and I'll keep them accountable, and they'll ask me, okay, Oscar, so give us a daily briefing, what's going on? I'll tell them, okay, this is what's going on, this is what's going on, this is what's going on, and little by little, people are getting more involved, people are getting more interested in the community. One thing that has come up a lot with people my age, once they start getting interested, that they say, well, it's because, man, I see this is happening nationally, I didn't see this happening globally, and I want to do this to help make that happen. But I got to kind of remind them and center them and tell them, that's happening nationally, this is happening globally, but we got to start here in our community first. We can't go off and try to solve a nationwide problem when there's a problem in our neighborhoods. In the house down the street, that's where that starts. That's where we must begin. As well, in thanking Our Laredo, one thing I recommend to them always is check out the Facebook page for Our Laredo. You find it hard to know what's going on in your city, check it out. They do the research, they do all the work. You just go and read the posts and you get more informed of what's going on around you. But something that I am trying to do with a couple of other friends is we're trying to set up an organization where we work towards informing people our age, giving them something that is a bit easier to understand, and even showing them how to talk about their differences without getting into issues. Because we have seen it as an issue recently, where people who are having different ideals, somebody who is a conservative or a liberal, will get into an argument, and that isn't the point of our country. The point is that we're able to talk about our differences, better understand each other. Maybe we won't agree with each other, but we'll understand why the other person thinks the way that they think. And so that's why we're currently working on setting up this organization. But I encourage you all that are in attendance today, if you want to become a part of this movement, a part of this drive towards helping our youth in Laredo to become more informed and more involved in our city, join us. One question we always get is, well, Oscar, I don't like government. I like science. I want to be an engineer. I want to go into business or medicine. But they don't understand that in our city, there is a part that they could play, all of them. If they want to go into engineering, well, they could help up in designing, what is going to be the revitalization of the downtown district. If they want to go into medicine, well, they could help and try to find a way to improve the health of our city overall. There is a piece and a place for everybody, even if they don't want to go into law or don't want to become something in government or run for politics. So again, like I said, if you all are interested in joining in with this movement, please talk with me after the meeting. I as well would love to work with Our Laredo in ways that we could together help encourage our youth to make a difference in our city. So thank you so much. God bless you, and I wish you all the best there.
Thank you so much, Oscar. And I've been told, okay, we will take a 10-minute break first. It's 7:58. We're going to come back at 8:08, maybe 8:09. We'll finish up with the last 3 or 4 speakers. The speakers I have left: Memo Castro, Jose Luis del Huerto, Mike Smith, Howard Ivy, and then I think you wanted to speak too, sir. Okay, so we'll take a quick 10-minute break. And again, we just have a few more speakers. We're going to have a very brief panel discussion and cut the cake. So if you would kindly take your seats. If you need to finish your conversation, please take it outside. Thank you. Alrighty, so next on the floor, we have at the mic, Mr. Memo Castro.
Thank you, thank you. For those that don't know me, I'd like to thank Vish and Mr. Carrillo, Cisneros, I'm sorry, Mr. Cisneros, But I got to know them years ago because my son worked for them, or he told me about a watchdog group. And lo and behold, I was witnessing your efforts on what you have done. I compliment you guys on that. The young man that spoke a little while ago, Mr. Lopez, I like to praise him because government should be for the young people. Be mentored by us, the older ones that have gone by, but it's for the young. One of the problems that I'm facing right now, those that were at the meeting this last Monday, I witnessed what the council and how they work. I've been there a couple of times trying to get an attention for my company. And it seems they pass these ordinances after everybody goes. And that's because nobody listens. It's between them. The problem that I face, my company is called M&M Air Cargo and Delivery Service. For 39 years, we have been the catalyst of this airport. I go way back when Aldo Tatangelo took office I think it was in the 70s, and toward the end of his term, as the airport closed, the city was given the airport. And we resolved and we decided, well, that's the airport, we're going to do something. There was, master plans that were supposed to be followed. And one of those conditions was that land on the adjacent to the apron or the tarmac had to be aeronautical use. Through those years, our company, working with staff, has been the incubator of so many companies that have come to Laredo and that are here today. They have come through my doors. Some of these companies were Emery Worldwide, which was the first airline that we brought here to address the cargo needs of then the beginning stages of NAFTA. As it revolved, we brought so many companies into our doors because that was it. The location, 5103 Maher. Used to be the Air Force training section. It was an old building that the city never paid anything. It was a shell, and through the years, our company modified it, addressed the building as we would be able to bring and suit our customers' needs. We've been the incubator for so many years for so much these companies. Emery later on became UPS, and you know how many offices UPS has. When they talk about economic development at that airport, M&M Air Cargo has been the front one. We have the history. For every major funding that this airport has made, it's been our company from different levels of stages. Our side, which is the cargo, will actually build what you have today through our efforts. But what we have today is an administration that does not work with the private sector. We have a gentleman, the airport director, has no experience of running an airport, so we have the blind leading the blind. I have been vocal about those, and have been so many issues there. Just recently, I housed a company called IFL that came in, a company Jet Fuel that came in, me assisting them to, they were going to build a $2 million operation. But through these years, 39 years, I never had a problem subleasing because, guess what? That's how we work. That's how we provide that incubation of letting companies come into this airport, and guess what? The city prospers. We bring jobs. That's what we did. And the idea is that all of a sudden they came and said, Memo, you can't sublease. I said, but I did it for so many years. But you know, City of Laredo administration has one thing. They like to push the button. They like to tell you on the 11th hour, you got to sign this contract or it's not going to happen. Of course you do it. Behooves me that I didn't think that this company or this city would stab me in the back after 39 years of bringing jobs to Laredo. The companies that I brought in, Eagle Global Logistics, that became SIVA. Look how many people they employed. Pilot Air Freight, Mach 1, Seco. I opened those offices here years ago. And what we did, we created jobs. I like to challenge this city council to tell me, or the administration, to tell me what company at this airport has brought and cultivated these jobs. Not one. I'll put my record and it speaks for itself. Now, they're not going to renew my lease. After 39 years, they're going to decide to just tell me, you know what, we're going to emphasize that non-renewable thing. I tried to negotiate that contract a year ago. When they wouldn't listen, I had to lawyer up. I asked my attorney, with the new situation with the FBI, with the interim city manager, an interim airport director, and an interim legal staff, it behooves me to write a contract or negotiate a contract because they're not maybe around. The bottom line is they're sticking to their guns because the puzzle is beginning to understand. I welcome you, Mr. Cisneros, just to look and investigate on all those contracts, and you'll be surprised how they have a double standard, how they favored, and I'm going to say it, the Mexican companies. They favor them so much because on those two lists that they told me to go and check to see who I wanted to lease, they have two companies called, and they're there. They have a special condition. But I welcome your support. And like I said, I won't take too much of your time because I know I only have 3 minutes, but I'm happy that at least we have a forum that people can listen and air out their opponents. I may be closed, but let me tell you, before they shut me down, I'm going to fight to the last and I'm going to go down. I'm going to close with one thing that I remember in history, where Emiliano Zapata was quoted as saying, "It's better to die on your feet than crawl all your life." So I ask for your support and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Castro. So now a word from the director of the Holden Institute, Mike Smith.
Thank you. You're very welcome. Holding Institute has been involved in social justice since way before my time and probably way before our grandparents' time. Holding has been around since the 1860s, and I'd like to think that even before that, there were people praying about something like this, and we are the benefits, the recipients of those prayers of our ancestors. So thank you very much. Y'all are quite welcome here. If you ever need to do anything, please let me know. We'll be happy to help. My name is Michael Smith, and I am the director here at Holding Institute. I'm also appointed here by the Methodist Church, and I'm the associate pastor at First United on Guadalupe and McClelland. We do a lot here, and we love to help in anything that we can do. One thing I'd like to share is that as clergy, you don't see a lot of clergy that like to come to meetings like this or will share their opinions. We have lots of opinions, but they tend to shy away from political stuff or stuff that they feel is political. To me, this is not political. This is something, it's a responsibility. It's something that we have to do in our community. So that's why I'm here. And one thing that I'd like to share is something that I've been learning along the way is I work with a group of other clergy across the state of Texas in a project called Ministry with the Poor. Not ministry to the poor or for the poor, it's ministry with the poor. And part of what I've learned over the past 2 years is that the people that we serve, we have a lot to learn from them. In our service to them, it's not just about what we give, it's about what we receive from them. That we must always value their input, and we must always take their input and have them participate at all levels. It is my belief, in my opinion, that poverty is, everything that we've talked about today has a direct relation to poverty. And when I say poverty, there are many definitions of poverty, but poverty in my perspective is not solely an economic condition. Poverty is a condition that directly relates to inferiority, the feeling of being inferior to someone else, the feeling of having lack. Any word that ends in less, homeless, jobless, hopeless, those are all direct results of poverty. It could be economic poverty, it could be spiritual poverty. It's just a feeling of less. What can we do to address that? I believe that each of us here are addressing that in our own way, but there is much more that we can do. And part of that is to take responsibility for our own. I've heard a lot of people talk about taking responsibility for ourselves, but also take responsibility for our community as a whole. There is a lot that we can do. There's a lot that needs to be done. And I believe that we must not be afraid to share our opinions. Use discretion, use your head, use your heart, but don't be afraid to speak out. I believe that we are here for a reason. There is one verse that I'd like to share with you. It's very simple. It's really quick, easy to know. It's Romans 5:5. Romans is an epistle, a letter that was written by Paul to the Christians in Rome at the time. And Romans 5:5, look it up when you get home or Google it when you have a chance. Romans 5:5 simply states, hope, H-O-P-E, does not disappoint. So when you feel that you have nothing to offer as far as material goods or service, or you say, I'm tapped out myself, how can I help you? You do have something that you can offer, and that is hope, H-O-P-E. Very simple, something that you have to offer, something that you can give, something that you can extend. It's a smile. It's when you see someone in the street asking for money, we don't roll up our window. You can roll down your window and say, what can I do to help you? I don't have any change right now. Can I listen to you? Can I share something with you? You want half of my burger? Would you like a soda? Can I talk to you? I don't have any money, but what's your name, by the way? We all have a lot that we can offer. So I would also like to remind you that we are called as believers to respect the authority that has been placed before us. Not upon you. It is not a yoke that you must suffer under. It is something that if you get to a point where you feel, I cannot respect that individual, that's okay. But you can respect the title. And we work within those limitations. We don't shy away from working with those we serve with or those that are over us. We work within those boundaries. We don't run away from them. Take responsibility and offer hope. Thank you.
All righty, thank you so much, Mr. Smith. And we have Mr. Vicente Fernandez who would like to share a few words. And then I think after him is just Jose Luis. We've got you? No, Jose Luis? No? And Mr. Ivy? Is Mr. Ivy here? No. Well, you know what? No, but he doesn't want to speak. So then I think it's just going to be Mr. Fernandez, and then we'll have our quick panel discussion about where we go from here, and we cut cake. All right?
Let me correct myself. My name is Vicente Hernandez. No, I wish it was Fernandez.
Sorry.
And I forgot my charro hat. So, my name is Vicente Hernandez. I was born and raised here in West Laredo. When I read that this group was coming together, okay, And it hit my heart because I always been an activist, okay? I'm a dinosaur. I had to go back with Cesar Chavez in Michigan when the Cesar Chavez had that Teatro Theater thing. I was there. As a matter of fact, I was arrested in Michigan State University for just being there. Back then I have a big mustache and that profile right away. Where you going to? They accused me of passing a stop, not to do a complete stop and stuff like that. So I put in jail and I missed it. Okay, but I always have a heart for Laredo. Okay, even if I have lived in Hills County in San Marcos. You know San Marcos River is a crystal clear river, but I prefer Rio Grande, because that used to be my swimming pool, okay? My ministry is, I minister to people in the streets, in jail ministry, rehabs. That's what I do, that's my calling, okay? And I'm grateful to Mr. Ceballos here that when I needed a break, he gave me a second chance. He hired me in his Bethany house, and that's where grew my passion, okay? I saw the passion that Mr. Ceballos had for the homeless, and it grew on me, okay? But the most important thing I want to share is what this group is doing. I saw it firsthand, okay? See, in Detroit back then in the 60s and the 70s, Detroit was the city that everybody wanted to go, okay? But a couple of city councilmen and mayors got into there and they destroyed the city. My sister lives there. They said that city is so poor that they have nobody to cut the yards in the park and recreation. The firemen's takes a lot of time to provide service, and it only took like 7 men to destroy a prosperous city, okay? And we don't want that to happen in Laredo, okay? We want Laredo to prosper, okay? I was hearing Mr. Garcia when he said about people that new administration. I remember back in Crystal City, there was a book about it. They call it Crystal City 7, okay? They put the comadre, the compadre, and everything in there, but they didn't know nothing of administration, and they lose all the grants, okay? And that city has never recovered because of bad administration, okay? So we people, we know how important this group is, okay? And I'm very glad that I found out, because I used to feel like the prophet Elijah, that I was the only one that was fighting this administration. Now I see a lot of colleagues, muchos colegas que, I mean, they're there by my side, and I know we will conquer, okay? I know we will conquer. I also want to address the judge. We need judge, not prisons or no jails. We need rehabs, okay? Rehab for drug addiction, for alcoholic, okay? That's what really works, okay? We send people 20 years to prison, they come the same drug addict, the same alcohol that we send. Program rehab is where it's at, okay? Okay, and it's a city, a Laredo city right now, the only rehab program that we have, it has a 200 waiting lists to get in there. Can you imagine a city this big with one rehab center, and there's 200 people waiting to get in there? We need to address that, Judge. We need to address to get this administration open more programs, okay? Man, I'm glad I found you guys, man. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you very much.
All right, a very fitting conclusion from Mr. Hernandez. Thank you so much, sir. All righty, so next we've got a panel discussion, the future. Where do we go from here? What do we do? What happens next? That will be Vish, Armando, Meli, Jose Ceballos, Ivan Rodriguez. So if y'all would kindly make your way up to the table. Fascinating panel discussion.
Won't take long.
Won't take long, they say. So they say.
So good evening, everybody. Vish, Armando, Meli, Ivan, thank you for joining the panel. So Vish asked me to help facilitate, to try to give you an idea of where the group is going. But since we have candidates in the room, I really would like for you guys to let them know today. We're going to start with that.
Okay.
What would you like someone that's running for office to be considering and be thinking about it as they get their platform together? And I'm going to give the first question to Vish. Vish, what would be your advice to the folks that have come in tonight, that are here tonight running for office?
You know, when Mr. Hernandez finished the discussion, you know what one thing he said? He said education or prevention. You know, some of you may not know, when 2 years ago, when I ran for the Justice of the Peace, I had only one slogan: prevention through education, not putting people in jail. I was running for the Justice of the Peace. Justice of the Peace can do a lot of things in school districts and everywhere else, rather than the children who are absent or all those issues. I'm not going to get into that. Bottom line is prevention rather than putting people in jail. That's exactly what Mr. Hernandez, you said. That was my slogan 2 years ago. For the judges and all the other candidates, an ounce of prevention definitely is much better than everything else you can provide. You can close all the cases. You better be happy that there's no cases to close. Think about that. I know we are not going to get there, but that should be your goal. That should be your goal. It's my opinion. Thank you very much.
I also want to ask Ivan the same question. You and I worked on a campaign together on the same side, and I know we struggled with moral issues during the campaign, and we gave advice that was very relevant to that candidate. What advice would you give a candidate in making judgments over what money they take, or whether they even take money, or whether they're punishing to the other candidate to a degree that's detrimental to family values, those kinds of things? What would you advise a candidate?
I know everybody has different opinions, and I respect everybody's opinion regarding, receiving funds to run your campaign. It's obviously a costly thing. You have to get information out to the people. You have to let them know what your qualities are. You have to let them know about you. And I don't think that any individual should have to bear that burden by themselves. As it is, you're willing as a candidate to sacrifice your time away from your family. That should be enough. You shouldn't have to just rely on your own wallet or your own purse or your own savings to run a campaign. But I would say that, when we worked on this campaign, every time that we were contacted by someone who wanted to make a donation a little bit larger than, $15, $20, $100, it was always very, very clear that the money was going to be accepted with no strings attached. I don't think there's anything wrong if I turn around and say, I'd like to give you $1,000 or $1,000, but I should not expect anything in return. And I think as candidates, you need to make that very, very clear to people. Say, hey, gee whiz, thank you so much, because television time is expensive. Radio time is expensive. Signs are expensive. It should not have to be a burden to a family who's willing to give of themselves, their time and everything, to run for office, to serve the public. I think the fact that you're doing it is enough in itself. So I would just mention that, that you make it very, very clear, and that you do live by, the thing of integrity and transparency and accountability and all that, and emphasize that to people. That's why I'm running, and you will attract the votes that you need by talking that way. There's always going to be a few people that say, well, I'm with the dark side, so I don't want somebody who's going to be, demand transparency, or who's going to, But I think the majority of people do expect that from you. I know that I do, and I do vote. My wife votes. We're very excited. So, but I would just say, make it very clear when you do accept donations, if they're coming from a company, if they're coming from a family who is more blessed, that you appreciate the donation, but that it has to be with no strings attached. You know, that's what I would recommend.
You want to add something?
Yes, for the candidates, you know, it's so important, you know, about your ethics and who the people that back you. And if you allow someone with a questionable background to back you, you know, you turn off the people and they'll say, you know what, we're not voting for you, we're voting against you. So be careful that, you know, if you're people of ethics and integrity and you're trying to prove that to the public, who you say, these people are backing me, whoever is backing you, because that could be a big detriment. They'll just scratch your name. Oh, no, I already know that. So please, just for your information.
A little bit about the future of our Laredo. This one goes to Armando. Some people would say, you know, here's a group of people that are always complaining, showing up and writing things up. What would you respond to that, and how would you qualify a response? I know the group's been talking about developing white papers and maybe doing some other things into the future that are a little more organized. What would be your response to someone that might be saying that?
Well, I think a lot of times when we speak out against something is because it comes up on the agenda or something, and we know that it's wrong, and we don't necessarily have a solution yet, but we know that it's the right thing to speak out against it. So I guess in the long run, we need to be more solution-oriented, but I don't apologize for speaking out against something that's wrong. So I think we're going to keep on doing that.
Good point.
And eventually become more solution-oriented.
Okay, Melly, if you had to choose the next top 3 issues that you think as a city, as a community, we should be thinking about, which top 3 issues would you identify?
Well, you know, the FBI, I mean, it's like, if we clean up that mess, we might clean up our city government. That's number 1. That would alleviate so many problems. Number 2, of course, the big expenditures. You know, the Mercy Hospital. I mean, they took, what, $500,000 from my district to go buy a statue in another district. I mean, that's not fair. What happened to the people in my district? We were left out and we didn't even count. It's like, you know, they do their decisions without the input of the people. And you know what? We all matter. But they're going to think that we don't matter if we don't go up there and tell them, hey, I'm here, I matter, I live in your district, and what you're doing is wrong. So, you know, you need to think about what we need. But, you know, this thing about districts also, I'm thinking that it's just not working out, that maybe they should have city projects, because they're using these district funds, discretionary funds, as the reward tokens, and I'm against that, because we don't benefit from it.
Who wants to add one issue that is of importance? Ivan?
I would like to just comment, and it goes hand in hand with what Mr. Hernandez said earlier, and I have used the city of Detroit as an example. You know, and I've told some of the city leaders, and I've mentioned it to the mayor, that we are, statistically speaking, and unfortunately, a poor city. It's been proven, you know, the stats, and some people get offended by that. I don't get offended. If I have trouble at home with my budget, and somebody says, "Oh, gee whiz, you know, you're in trouble," yes, and I'm going to take action. I'm going to cut cable. I'm going to maybe get rid of a cellular. I'm going to, you know, start using coupons. And I just want to say that one of the things that I would like to see our city leadership do is take that more into account. We are a very blessed city, but economically speaking, we can get into financial trouble if we continue spending the way we spend on things that do not produce. Would I love for the city of Laredo to be able to write a check every week, you know, for $200 to every family in Laredo to ensure that every child eats? Absolutely. But I would rather that they spend that $200 a week on jobs, training. You know, we need to start doing things that are going to help us get out of the situations that we're in and not just, borderline socialism, give everything away. It's the first reaction, but once you get past, the emotional part of it, you say, well, what am I really going to do? I mean, we would all love to give our children money every week, but we're just going to spoil them. We're not going to teach them anything. So I just wanted to comment.
A follow-up. What is it that the city is doing well that you want to see them continue to do? We haven't talked so much about that, but what is it? Does anybody have anything that you've seen, this is a practice that we should, pat somebody on the back for doing something right? Vish.
Mom is the word. Well, I really don't want to answer that because I don't think I have seen any improvements that I would like to see. Just to give you an example, the FBI came and did a raid. The next city council meeting, I was there, sitting there, everybody was saying we had to do business as usual. This guy here, went up in the front and said, business cannot be as usual. Something changed. If you are not going to change the way you are doing business, it's not only the FBI, everybody else is going to come here. Nobody was talking about how they can do business differently so that the FBI doesn't have to come here. Honestly, I don't think that has happened even now. We had several speakers here, each one of them spoke on a different topic. I passed out to you a list of things that we still think is wrong with the city. By the by, we don't just talk about it, we do the research. Contrary to popular belief, we actually have done research, we know what we are talking about, and we have made recommendations. But we did not have a welcoming city council so far. If you ask me what has changed, a little bit has changed. As an example, there are 2 or 3 city council members who actually listens to us these days. Good news. For the very first time this week, Armando and I met with the city manager. We had tried to meet with the past city manager for the last 3 or 4 years, and he never showed even an interest in seeing us. But he did this week. He met with us. We had 2 issues that we had a problem with. One was the lamp post, the other one was recycling. We went there thinking the lamp post that we have in your district, madam, is only $940. We came out convinced that no, they're actually spending another $1,800 on top of it. Each of those nice lamp posts that you have cost $2,700 in each corner. If I tell you that he's talking about spending $200 on job training, I'm talking about, do we really need a $2,700 lamp post in a corner? Those are discretionary fund, means Alex Perez can spend it any way he wants. Bottom line, there's a lot of problems still out there. I don't think the city council thinks everything is okay. They think everything is fine. To me, what Melly said is the most important thing. The FBI coming here is useless if they're not going to do something about it. If they made a mistake, they need to go to jail. That will set the trend for the next generation to say we will do things better. Then we can say something has changed. I don't think it has so far.
Anybody any practice that you all would want to highlight?
I think they've been a little bit better at the city's webpage, getting a little bit more user-friendly. So, we go in there a lot and we look for things, and sometimes it had been hard, but very, very a little bit, but it's improved somewhat. So
it's going in the right direction.
It's going in the right direction at least.
All right, last question, and then I'll take a few from the audience. What are the plans, Vish, this goes to you. What are the plans for organizing our Laredo structurally as an entity? Can you speak to that? What are you looking at in the next few months and years?
Okay, let me answer that, and then I'm going to get it over to these 3 to speak up. I never spoke so far. Honestly, the face of our Laredo has been Vish. I don't want that to be the case. What we really want is we saw several other people who said they're all supporting us. That's why they came here and supported us. We have a good following. What we need to do is we need to take it to we are in the second birthday here. We are a toddler now, terrible twos. In order to maintain the terrible twos, we need a good board. We need a vision. My vision is this, if we can accomplish that. We don't have a formal organization. We need a formal organization where we have a president, secretary, all the positions. We need a board which we can advise the executive board. We need some money, unfortunately. So far, we have never done any fundraising. We need to maybe form a PAC or something of that nature, maybe even a 501c3. Sometime back, there used to be an organization here, people alluded to that before, like VIDA, which is dysfunctional right now. Maybe we need a 501c3 organization which can look into issues like this. Because we don't have the people enough people volunteering, we are only looking at the city council issues. We would really like to look into LISD, UISD, the county, LCC, and other agencies also. But we don't have the resources to do that. So my goal would be expansion, formalization, and we want all of you to join in, not sit in the background and say, cheer us up. That's not going to help anymore. We really want people to come out and support us, and you be the leader. We need leadership. Something came to my mind, I'm going to say that, and I'm going to shut up after this. You know, if you might have heard this, there are too many chiefs, not many Indians. We have heard that, right? Too many chiefs, not many Indians, meaning there's a lot of leaders, nobody to do the work. Okay, in my opinion, we don't have any chiefs. We have one Indian. Doesn't work.
We're almost at 9 o'clock, so we'll be real quick. If you want to add anything before we take questions, Armando, you two want to add anything?
Well, I thought I'd started that, no?
No, he was going to kick it over to you, future.
Oh, okay. The only thing I caution is not to lose our mission, because I don't want for us to start structuring ourselves formally and taking money, and for us to lose sight of what we've been doing.
With an organization come reports that are required, counting.
If we can do that and keep our mission statement, our vision clear, then that's good. But if not, I don't know.
Melly, you want to add anything?
I think that the very most important, as a former school teacher, is always education. We need to educate the community because the community is clueless. And so in order for them to impact change, along with all of us that want only the best for our community, we need to educate them because they think that we're the enemy every time we go up to city council because we're not on the side of the other people that are clueless about what's right for our community.
And I don't think this group would be surprised, but the group doesn't always agree. Am I correct?
That's true. That's true.
Ivan, anything that you think our Laredo should be in the future? In terms of structure?
Just a continuation of, building on what is being done already. And that's being a voice for, demanding that there be integrity. I think if you have integrity, and I agree, I believe Mr. Castillo said that, there's a need for people to actually have sort of an education in certain areas to help them do a better job. I agree with that. But I also believe that I would much rather have an individual with integrity who has a 6th grade education, but I can rely on them being honest. Because it doesn't do any good to have somebody in there on the flip side of that with 4 certifications and more degrees than a thermometer. If you can't go to sleep at night knowing that they're honest, sincere, and are going to provide a level playing field for everybody.
All right, thank you. Good. I'm going to take, I think, probably 3 questions. It's almost 9 o'clock, so we want to wrap it up for everybody's sake.
Quick question. So, have you decided what races you will have debates for? And if so, what process do you take to select the so many races that are going to be happening in 2018?
If you are interested, we'll definitely have it. We were only interested in the city, but during the last election we had LCC debates, LISD debates, UISD debates, and all that. So answer is yes, we will have any. If you are willing to come, we will have it for you. And 2 of them are already here. Wonderful.
Oh, by the way, we do provide you with the questions beforehand, so you're well prepared. So no giving someone fair advantage over anyone because we don't take sides.
Okay,
Any other questions? Comments?
Everybody wants to go.
Everybody wants to leave. All right, Vish.
Well, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Lately, there's been a bunch of deaths due to contaminated heroin, and the school systems aren't set up. The city's not set up. Like Mr. Hernandez was saying, we only have one treatment center. So, at the very, we don't ever talk about our city as having a drug culture, but it's very prevalent. As a school teacher, it's just particularly sad to see it. I taught 6th grade, and at one time I taught at an alternative school, and the average age of the addict in school of their beginning career was 11. So it's very tragic, and it's like the homeless situation. It's like, well, it'll never go away. But it seems like we could get the city council involved in something altruistic that would, like really work. And because if we don't have a healthy community, we can't. The reason why our young people are so disinterested is because they're so distracted by so many things. I mean, forget the cell phone. The whole culture of using drugs and substances to alter their state of mind. It's so prevalent in schools, and it's like, I've been persecuted more than once for talking about it at a high school, because, like I say, it's like the homeless situation. It's like it's always going to be here, but it doesn't seem like the city's doing anything.
Jose, I just wanted to ask Mr. Ivan, he was talking about, you asked him, I don't think I need that kind of report. I don't think that I would like to see a politician like people without a lot of integrity, because of course, we all think about, it's just not there, the politician, that's the way politics works. What I'm more interested in a politician is for them to have a vision, and for them to have change, for them to have positive change, to see the city in a different way. What is it that we need aside from the drug culture? And schools are so interested. That, we are a failure in school because the schools are not teaching kids. They're only doing testing. If you pass a test, then the school gets millions of dollars from the state. I find that real racist, that is pulling us down, that we can get caught because of that. And what are we teaching our kids? What are they learning besides a test? What is the problem? Why can't we get rid of the test? I myself come from the 60s, and I think that the problem is because some of the kids are uninformed or misinformed, or the teachers are not teaching because it's so easy for them, just give them a test and, let them worry about it. But what happens to the city if we cannot prepare and get the kids to participate, to have a voice, to be Laredoans, to think about, I love Laredo, I want to do something for Laredo? That's what I would like to see in a politician, not too much integrity.
I never got a chance to answer her either, but
Just, the reason that I emphasize integrity so much is because the fact that these 4 people and everybody in here is having to fight for integrity is taking away time from addressing those kind of things. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we were meeting today to discuss drugs in schools, to discuss training, to discuss, but unfortunately, or fortunately, this organization has to meet to discuss getting rid of, You know, this organization has to be like a can of Raid to spray the roaches, you know? And instead of doing that, I would much rather be outdoors planting a garden, doing this, doing that, the kind of creative, visionary things that you're talking about. But unfortunately, because this takes so much time, you know, fighting people who are in there, and it appears to me, and we'll find out what the FBI investigation reveals, but there's a lot of people in there that probably aren't working to address these things because they're looking at self-enrichment maybe or things like that. And that's why our Laredo focuses on the honesty and integrity and all that. I agree with you, you know.
I'm not trying to tell you to re-spray your wings real fast, you know, it's going to take time. I'm just telling you in general what I would like in a politician. You know what I mean? If I'm going to vote for Mr. right there, the judge. You know, I want a judge, I know he's full of integrity.
Wait for the debate.
You know, yeah, but I want him to do something.
Yes, I mean, if I can summarize, what you're saying is really looking and finding the visionaries, right?
That's right.
Let's get down to the business of electing people that have a vision and can get from the start line to the finish line without all these other issues, right?
An honest vision.
I want to make sure, Rich, you want to speak to this.
No, he is actually, Ivan answered her also in the sense, we are fighting the wrong battle. Since we are fighting the wrong battles of corruption and wasteful spending and everything else in the world, we don't even have the time to look at other problems.
But it has to be
This
done.
is not the only time, sir, we have talked about the contracts were given wrong. We have been saying that all the time, and US is only one of them. I can give you hundreds of examples of contracts were not given right, and he knows the same thing. Bottom line is we are fighting battles which we shouldn't be fighting.
But
So we don't have the time for anything else.
they're necessary because without winning that, we cannot address the other issues.
We can't get completely sidelined. There was one question. That's the last one we're going to take, and then we'll have closing remarks.
Plus, we shouldn't do that. Somebody has one question.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you. Okay, thank you. I've been listening to the comments, and it's really wonderful that you elected to be there at the focal point, which is not easy to do all the time. My theory behind promoting education in administration is because I think I shared this with our Laredo, at least some of the members. We currently have a Bachelor of Arts city manager. I think it's in criminal justice. We have an assistant city manager with bachelor's in forensic science. A third one who has a business degree, and a fourth who, while they all have college degrees, none of them are geared toward the public administration side. And quite frankly, let me tell you why I mentioned that. I have a master's in public administration. I consider myself an expert on government and administration and how to efficiently and effectively run programs. Why do I want educated workforce in the city? Is because of that. We have two very fine attorneys here. They should be in the law degree. They should be in the judges. I don't know if they would be able to help me if I had a medical condition. We have to make sure we understand. I love all degrees. I like business degrees. I like aviation degrees. Whatever it is that we're doing, I'm for them. I'm not against them. I'm just saying government functions better with public administration.
I wanted to ask a question having to do with the statue that they wanted to build in, they took away the money from your district. I think it's supposed to go to my councilman. What can be done to stop, one councilman giving his money to another councilman?
I went and addressed them at council, and I told them that I didn't think it was fair when we needed so much in our own district. But you know, I don't know what kinds of deals they do, you know, well, I'm gonna vote for this for you, but you have to give me something in return. So I don't know what kinds of deals they make within each other. I just know that my district was out 700,000, 500,000 for the statue, and 200,000 went to Lazy River in District 1.
Should there be a code of ethics?
Well, there is a code of ethics, and they're all swore to abide by the code of ethics, but unless you bring them and say, hey, you did this, you know, it's...
Yeah, let me just add to that. We as a group believe discretionary funding should not be there at all in the first place, because that's all monies that they are somehow mismanaging totally. Not only this statue issue, they have looked at several others. They're all mismanagement of. It's like here, 500,000 for you, 500 for you. Spend it any way you want. Keep your friends happy.
It's $500,000 per councilman.
Per year.
Per year.
Yes.
$500,000.
It's from the top of the budget, yes.
4 million.
4 million.
A year.
A year.
Come on, money.
And I also know of one council member who is saving it up to make something big. Good for him. I'm just saying that, you know, not wasting on things that you can think of.
Yeah, great. I think we're good, right? Okay.
You know, that's an excellent point that she just brought up. If you do the math, what is it, $16 million in 4 years?
16
Wow.
million, yeah.
Wow.
There's a lot of friends who voted for you, right?
Before we go to closing remarks, this place is a very special place, and I know Mike's not in the room, but this place was in terrible shape about 3-4 years ago. And Mike's efforts and a team of volunteers and supporters brought it back to life. It had a leaky roof, it didn't have working air conditioning, and although Mike's not in the room, you know, I really want to acknowledge his leadership here. And for a long time, anybody could come in here and use the facility without a charge. He still has to find ways to pay the bill. This community center was dead 4 years ago. And in 2014, we had a wave of humanitarian relief wave that came from Central America. And we saw, I remember one particular evening, maybe 200-300 ladies with children came through these doors, and we fed them, they cleaned up, they showered, and they went off on their way fleeing all kinds of issues, primarily women with children. So anyway, I want to make sure that you all know that as you come to Holding, that this place is very special for a lot of us that work in the social service field. Vicente, and you acknowledge, I appreciate you acknowledge my effort, but I'm more proud of you than you should be proud of me. I think your ministry it speaks for service any day beyond what I do, so thank you.
Because he let me minister, he let me cover, rent free, I can come bring people over here, cover with them, and he can be a great help for my ministry, okay? So,
Great. We'll let Vish finish. But left to right, and closing statements, closing remarks from each of you.
I have a closing remark.
Oh, you have a closing? Okay, so then she closes at the end. You want to start, then we'll start with Ivan, and then you'll do the official closing for El Laredo.
I would just like to say, you know, happy birthday, our Laredo. Thank you to everybody for being here. Thank you to everybody for voicing your opinions. You know, that is obviously one of our cherished rights. God bless Laredo, and you know, I plan, and my wife and other members of my family continue to, you know, our plan is to continue to support, you know, this group, the work that it does. My hat's off to Vish. You know, I mentioned earlier about a statue of Mr. Farias. I'll tell you what, if the city said they were gonna put a statue up of Vish, that would be okay with me, because this man, you know.
It would be less money.
But you know, in all sincerity, I was born in Corpus Christi, but I was raised here in Laredo, and I attended UTSA in San Antonio and came back. This was way back in the 70s, and I was in student government there also. I'm very passionate about organizations and about groups and about, goals and so forth. And Holding is very, very special to me because when we moved from Corpus, my mother worked at Holding Institute when it was over on Santa Maria by the Laredo Job Corps. And, so just again, thank you, Vish. You're a long way from your home, but I respect you so much for being as vocal as you are, thinking things through and investigating. Armando, also, because of you guys and the group, things are changing. And you mentioned earlier about positive things. I think one thing that we're seeing from some of our city leaders is a willingness to listen, and that's a start. That's true. That's a start, Several of them are willing to listen. The ones that are more so willing to listen, like Nellie, she's a trained listener. One of the things that, really got us going about supporting her is that she, has her master's in counseling psychology, I think, or something. So she's a trained listener. George Allgett, obviously, they're attorneys. They're used to listening to clients, listening to people and stuff. So I'm really excited about that. I think our other council people, hopefully will evolve and come to the decision that more needs to be done to represent the people of Laredo fairly.
I actually honestly want to speak as little as possible today because I have been the face of our Laredo. So everybody thinks I am the only one sitting here and doing something. That's absolutely not true. There's a lot of people who are supporting me, working behind the back, doing things, doing research and talking and all that. It's not a one-man show at all, as you can see from what you saw today. There's a lot of people behind me, and actually they are the ones pushing everything, not me. Armando does a lot of work, Ivan does. You might have seen some of the speeches made by Melly there, really, really outspoken in the last couple of city council meetings. It's not me, but we are all in this together. The only difference is some of you who spoke about one issue. We, on the other hand, look at the bigger picture and look at all the different issues and see how we can solve it. So I have only one thing I wanted to tell you. Join us. You can do as much or as little as you want. If you want your name in the background and not to be heard at all, we will respect that. At the same time, you can definitely contribute. Join us. That's all I have to say. We can do a lot of things. Things are changing, like everybody is saying. But I would like to see more changes than just minuscule, small things that's happening here and there. Maybe much more changes. It'll be nice. So almost 60 years here. I don't want to be here another 20 years doing this, right? We talked about not reaching out to the young children. That's not true. Actually, we are trying that. Kevin, listen to your dad. You can come and join us and you can start talking. You can be your supporting Oscar who spoke. By the way, Oscar is the winner of the Rotary Club debate contest in Laredo. I can see a judge coming right there. You guys watch out, okay? He's a good speaker, but bottom line is we need young generation to come out. We had a tough time doing that. We cannot even get the parents to come out. How can we get the children to come out? There's a lot of fear in this community. He talked about me speaking out. Maybe because I'm not from here, it may be easier for me to speak out. But until don't settle for the breadcrumbs. Until everybody speaks out this is your community, mine too. Look at our message. We said it's our Laredo. We didn't say it's your Laredo or their Laredo. It's our Laredo. Why would somebody 5,000 miles away from here come here, stay here for 22 long years, and still try to make that place a better place? By the way, I travel every day, every month, everywhere. But I'm glad to come back to Laredo and call it home. I want it that way. Okay? I will do my best to make this, where I live, a better place to live. But you should be doing that too. Join us. That's all I have to say.
I'll just keep it brief. I want to thank all the public for coming in, and especially the candidates, because they might soon be in a position meet with us and help us with the issues of the city. So I want to thank everybody, and with our closing statements, here's Melly Hereford.
Okay, I've prepared a statement because I didn't want to leave anything out. All of this is important. I would like to thank each and every one of you who worked so hard to make this event successful. I would also like to thank our guests for joining us in celebrating the 2nd anniversary of our Laredo, whose mission is to demand ethics, integrity, accountability, and transparency in the business of the city. I want you to know that even though we have been successful, we are limited in what we can do because we do not have a large number of people to do the research, to lobby, and to speak on those issues which we believe are important to the citizens of our community. Unless we grow the organization, then we continue to be limited in what we can focus on and what we can accomplish. Our responsibility as citizens of this community is to vote, to pay taxes, to stay informed on the issues that impact us, and to become engaged to make a difference for all. Please stay up to date with the postings of our Laredo on Facebook. Like our postings, and please share with all of your list of friends. On the Fridays before council meetings, check the agenda and see if there's any issue that you would like to speak on. And join us on every other Monday at City Hall to exercise your First Amendment right and help to make life better for all. I would like to close with a quote from Edmund Burke, who states, "All that is necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men do nothing." Let me just say some other things. Vish is collecting donations to help pay for the expenditures that he has incurred. Please, let's cut a piece of cake because Leticia and her husband brought us a beautiful big cake, and a large of the people. Thank you. So we want everyone to have a piece of cake. Let's make sure that those who brought, ice chests and other things, please take them home with you. And let's look around where you're sitting so that there is no garbage. Let's all pick it up so we can be courteous and leave the place the way they loaned it to us. Thank you very much, and good night.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Marlene, you want to